What?
So I think we're gonna do this.
Yes. Yes. Read them? No, just summarize with your memory.
You have my attention.
Were you there? Do you remember what you talked about? Right?
That's not one of the like official companies, right? It's whatever. It's not one of the official.
No, it's not. You are correct.
Yeah.
Unless y'all did something phenomenal.
Saving you
Did
some
y'all do
time.
something phenomenal?
Keeping it real.
Look at how rock for you. No, just the highlights, not the whole. They did not look good. See the highlight here. Yeah.
Not the two.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, that's good.
And then
Yeah, that's a big. The difference between that one word.
If everyone would stand, we'll call this city council meeting to order. At this time, we have a word of silence, please. A moment of silence, excuse me. Thank you. We'll ask Councilwoman Tackett to lead us in the pledge. Thank you. I want to welcome all of you here to the Georgetown City Council meeting for today, Monday, March 25th, 2024. At this time, we have a roll call. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Allen?
Here.
Mrs. Wilkins Brent?
Here.
Mrs. Butcher Conway?
Here.
Mrs. Hambrick?
Present.
Mr. Hampton?
Here.
Mr. Showalter?
Here.
Mr. Stone?
Here.
Mrs. Tackett?
Here.
Thank you. At this time, we have the minutes from our previous meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as written?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All right, motion's made by Mr. Allen, second by Ms. Brent. Are there further questions and or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say likewise. Let the record reflect that the motion passed. You should have received the check registry. If you have received those, please raise your hand. Thank you. Let the record reflect that all have received it. At this time, we're going to have public comments. I have a sheet before me. And it's just a reminder that you will have 4 minutes to state your concern to the council. Please be respectful of that. Madam Clerk will let you know when your time is close to being up, and we ask again that you be respectful at the time. Please give your name as you come to the microphone to speak. At this time, we have Jack Connor on housing assessment.
My name is Jack Connor. I'm here representing Scott County United. I'm the Executive Director of Economic Development, Industrial Development for our community, and for you, I'm your staff person. But the reason I'm here, it really kind of relates to economic development, but more importantly, it relates to something that the council has been presented. And on behalf of Scott County United and some data and stats I want to give to you tonight, really strongly endorse the housing assessment study that you have before you, that I know that you've discussed. I'm not going to suggest that what I'm going to talk about, it makes it any less than being able to look at housing for those who are in need, housing that's for those who can't afford it, the homelessness as an example. But I also see very strongly how this assessment study can also help people like me as it relates to economic development. So I'm going to go through some statistics briefly and kind of verify what I'm trying to say in relationship to that. As you know, I like handouts, and just get, if I may, share with each other. To me, demographics, statistics tell a wonderful story, and as it relates to what I do for a living, that's a study that was done by Workforce, came out in March of this year. And if you kind of look through that real quickly, it's going to tell you that what are the 10 biggest, largest challenges for workforce today. And I would challenge you to look at all 10 of them, but just start with number 1 as an example. Labor. We know that there's a workforce challenge, but labor is one. Number 2, childcare. Number 3, affordable housing. I say those 3 in particular, not only do they go together, but since we started doing our economic development strategic plans back in 2021, there's been a real paradigm shift in the last couple of years. Those 3, childcare, housing, and transportation, are probably the number 1 issue that I'm challenged with today. There's always that proverbial product. You've got to have product before you can have economic development. This housing assessment, in my opinion, will help us begin to solve some of those issues that we deal with in my job, as well as those that Candace is working at and you again as the city are doing. Let me also, I always like to go back to those studies that we've talked about here with Fiscal Court as well as with Scott County United. So let me, I want to read a little bit if I may. Yep. Sorry. Oh. Okay. Well, this could be quick. Competitive factors for economic development. This comes from the local economic development strategic plan. So I'm going to go weaknesses. Labor, obviously. Shovel ready, that's product. What else do we have? Limited housing availability. That's one of our weaknesses. That's from our local study. Also from our local study, let me just kind of read this in terms of the labor market. One popular way to address the local labor pool is to attract more people to move to our community. Scott County has the quality of life that would be attractive, but housing supply is limited. We know, not just in terms of those that's unaffordable or those who are homeless, but we also have these challenges in workforce development. So let me also read you one from the regional study in terms of there were some major takeaways. Let me read number 6. Data analytics are important and mostly regional. Counties in the region are working to grow and improve, and these efforts are important. Detailed data is easily accessible to any potential investor today, and regional is the geography that most often for comparison. Labor sheds, housing availability, cost of doing business, those are some of the key data that you have to look at.
Time's up.
You watch. No. Will you give me 30 seconds? 30 seconds, sir? Sir, please. Your housing study, the RKG study itself. Page 1, just in terms of the initial letter, it says, the initial cover letter, to assist the city of Georgetown in completing a housing needs assessment. Goes on further, it says, low, moderate income, and workforce housing. That also is a part of your study. Let me go to page number 1 of the projected survey. In the inclusion of an implement strategy. Your study is not only going to give you the data, it's also what I love about this study. I just looked at the University of Louisville assessment. This is going to give you concrete ways to do it. A lot of these people deal with data and all that.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, Kyle Stone, new subject light for Rocky Creek Farms.
Hello, City Council. My name is Kyle Stone. No relationship to Todd. Is Emma on your side? Because she's not on mine. Damn. All right. So we just had an HOA meeting for Rocky Creek Farm, right across the interstate near Paris Parkway. We have no light between that intersection of Falmouth Drive and Paris Parkway. I brought this up to a couple candidates last time, not to everybody. I understand a lot's going on. But one thing I've gotten in response from former council member Lusby is that it's a state matter. There's 330 people, 330 homes in there. Average of 2 people, that's 600 people. I live on Falmouth Drive, I'm the 4th one down. A lot of them use that. I don't care who it belongs to, state, council, city, Germany, I don't care. But the point is there anything that we can do to make it work? The post doesn't have to be on Paris Parkway. It can be further down Falmouth. All you have to do is just point the light to that corner. Have reflective paint on that curb. Just use anything creative. I'm not telling you to break the rules. I'm just saying, can we bend it? It's just a dangerous area. As you guys know, probably Cherry Blossom Way is also fairly dangerous, but along Paris Parkway and that I-75, there's a lot of people who like to run it. But there's a neighborhood right there. There's an apartment complex coming right up on that area as well. And it could just use another light. HOA council members have said that they brought this up to the city before and the state before. I'm just coming to you as a homeowner doing it instead of a council member. I don't represent anybody. I'm just the 4th house on the street. And it's been mentioned. A lot of you know my face. I've been around a bit. I'm probably gonna show up again.
Kyle was gonna just tell you, call me or see me after the council meeting and I'll talk to you about it.
Sure thing. I was gonna offer to email everybody my contact information and just kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Okay, gentlemen, this is not for comments here. Remember now, he states a statement, says let's keep it that way, okay?
Yep, and that's it. I understand that this is not an active thing. I'm just bringing it to your attention today. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Give me a call.
Caitlin Tudor, Regional Industrial Park.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thank you so much. My name is Caitlin Tudor, and I am here because there, for the last couple of months, has been a lot of talk about the potential of the Regional Industrial Park. So I just want to bring it to your attention that I am not the only one that is concerned. There's actually a lot of people that are concerned about this. And I think the biggest concern that I am hearing from people is the lack of transparency, that there is a lot of information that is not being divulged to the residents. I actually spoke myself with City Councilman Mr. Hampton and Mr. Stone this weekend, inquiring about it myself, and they really didn't have any information to provide. And I think that's a really significant issue when the residents, not just myself, but there are, I will say it again, I'm here, I represent moms. That's a huge part of our population that is really underrepresented right now. And so I actually met with one of the moms that, outside of what my feelings are, made her own comment. And I met with her yesterday. And I want to read you her concerns. Number one was transparency. Like, she's not okay with the fact that we don't know what's going on and the city is putting money forth without knowing what's going on or what's being told to the public. Pollution, environment, noise, light, traffic. It's in a prime spot between 2 high schools with elementary schools with lots of neighborhoods. Goes into what Mr. Stone has repeatedly been saying. We don't have adequate fire and EMS support right now. There's response times that are outside the 4-minute response. If a massive industrial location were to go up in that location, what is the plan to mitigate the fire hazards of that, particularly if it's something that's outside the norm? And visual aesthetics, that's a really nice area that is not really overtaken at this point in time, and putting some big industrial thing out there is aesthetically unpleasing to a lot of people. And the last thing I'm going to tell you from her is, she had lived in Lexington for about 20 years, And then 5 years ago, she and her husband moved their family here. And she said, Georgetown is pretty. It's why I came. But I don't want industrial parks everywhere, and that's why I'll leave. So as we have conversations about wanting to increase growth and economic growth and bringing business here, we have to keep in mind that this is a small town. People come here because it's a small town. It has a small town feel. People like that. And if we continue to force this growth, you may just end up with a reverse effect that you may or may not be aware of. I'm going to read one more thing if I run out.
3 minutes.
Okay, cool. This is from another person that had commented on this person's original post. If they were to ask all the residents, they would find that most want less of this crap and more of what everyone actually agrees on. More things to do, parks, things for kids, a real pool. For some reason, that's not been the case in Scott County ever. To be the fastest growing city in Kentucky, we suck. That's what she said, sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I've been screaming this for so many years. Make Scott County awesome and full of things to do to keep its residents here and not running to other counties. It's ridiculous. It's been ridiculous for many, many years. Building subdivision after subdivision that people cannot afford is sending people born and raised here to other counties. I was born here back when we had nothing but a Pizza Hut and a Jerry's. Yes, we wanted more in our town, but this is ridiculous. All we got was subdivisions and people. That's pretty powerful to me. Somebody who was born and raised here and is not happy and feels like they're being forced out. I think without having more information, I think it would be prudent if it was halted, at least temporarily. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, let's see, I think that's it. They're not coming on that?
She's on the agenda as
Okay.
an event.
Okay, all right. At this time, we're going to move on to the event application. You see before you is Southern Knights of Central Kentucky Car Cruising.
Good afternoon, I'm Brenda. I'm here to support the Southern Knights Car Club. The last time I was here, we tabled everything that we needed about the cruise. Since then, the car club has made other arrangements if we're not allowed to come back to downtown Georgetown. I mean, we had to do something because we didn't have time. But I don't know what your decision is, but we enjoyed being down here. We think tourism, she backed us 100%. We've got a lot of people down here in Georgetown that has backed us. But we have made other plans if you all have not decided to let us come back to town.
Need a motion?
I need a motion to, just a minute, I think this is just one, but I also see on this sheet there are asked for other dates too, on this sheet. Is that not correct, Madam Clerk?
There are several dates.
Yes. So are we needed to just talk about this one on the 20th, or we need to talk about all the dates that's
All
listed?
dates.
All dates listed before. So if you go down to the event page there, you will see that April 20th, 4 to 7, July 20th, 5 to 8, August 17th, 5 to 8, and September 21st, 5 to 8. Those are the dates that which is brought before us to approve or not approve, right? So,
I'll make a motion, Mayor.
I'll second it.
motion is made by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Stone. Are there further questions and or comments?
I have comments. I would like to see us just have 2 of these rather than all 4 in a motion, because we have had discussion with the tourism and other people that we want to try to keep 1 per month. And it would be nice if 4 of our events were not just the car shows, and it would leave time for other events. So if we could do the one in April and September and leave the other 2 open for other people who might want to have an event on those months, I think that that would be a good compromise. We also have the road already shut down, I believe, in April and September for the 5K. So I think that since those two things can run concurrently, as far as I understand, I would like to amend the motion for two of those events, the one in April and the one in September, and leave the other two dates open in case somebody else wants to have an event on those other 2 months.
Ms. Tackett, you had a comment?
Yeah, because when Lori was here the last time, Saunders with tourism, she said that she talked to some of the business owners downtown, and they were concerned about it being closed down at 5 o'clock. Of course, I feel like that it probably brings business downtown as well. So I'm not sure about taking them out or anything like that. I think they've done this for how many years?
This is our first year here,
First year here? Downtown? Okay.
Plus, I think there was talk that we don't want to close the roads anytime before 4 o'clock.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Well,
if
they
there's a-
have it at 4, but they're saying at 3 to set up, right? If I read it right.
But that would mean we'd have to close the road at 3, is that correct?
That's when they would start setting up, is my understanding, right, Mayor?
Yes, it is.
Now, we have other plans, because we couldn't wait to, because everything's coming up so quick. The reason why we did the 4 was gonna let tourism have, we were gonna do April, she was gonna do May and June. And then we didn't do October, because last year in October, they had the Halloween thing, okay? So that's the reason why we were gonna do the 4. But we do have other plans set up for our cruise. Maybe we can do one downtown, but right now, if you all approve it.
Just a question. We did talk about starting a little later. Did you guys have any discussion
We
on
do
that?
5 o'clock, the rest of the time we do 5.
Right.
The reason why we do 5 is because of the temperature, number one, and then the lighting from our Heavenly Father up above, But, and then we usually close the streets about 4:30. That gives time enough for people to come in.
So your proposal here still says 4 o'clock, and you would set up at 3. I thought you guys were gonna go back and look at 5, setting up around 4:30?
April was closing around 3:30 and us opening at 4, starting at 4.
Just April.
Yeah, just April.
So all the other days you were talking about actually
After 4.
4 o'clock being the time you all need to set up, and then 5 o'clock you started your event. Is that correct?
The event starts at 4. Only in April it was.
Okay.
The rest of the time was 5.
Okay.
But we start at closing the street at 4:30.
Okay.
So I feel like that they've already really compromised, and I think the 4 is really not a bad idea. She's talked to tourism, and Lori's in favor, and they're doing a couple of other stuff down there. And
So
May and
you're in
June.
favor of having all 4 car events?
Yes.
Does anybody have a second to my amendment to make it 2?
Well, first of all, we have one already on right here. Let's take care of that first.
No, you have an amendment, so you have to take care of,
Yeah.
you have to take care of hers
First,
first,
right.
before you get back to the original
Right.
motion.
So, do I have a second on hers? All right, then let's go back to the original one. So we had a motion made, and we had a second. We had questions, and we also had comments. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say likewise.
No.
All right,
So to clarify, what time are we starting in April?
okay.
Sounds like 3:30.
Okay.
Close the street at 3:30.
Only April.
Only April,
Right.
yes.
All right, so let the record reflect that the motion passed.
We thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any more events to handle? Is that the only event?
Yes.
Okay. A couple of comments I want to make before we move on to here. I want to give you a little background history with as you all know, at Royal Spring Park, there are 2 cabins there. One of the cabins is connected here with a family, and That cabin, if you want to know the location of it, is down near the closest one to the bridge. The second cabinet is the one near the KU building, and that is a little bit older one, and it's not in very good shape. GMW SS is will be doing some project work on putting some new piping in. And one of the pipings that's gonna be coming through, instead of putting it right down the middle of Water Street, it'll be coming right through Royal Spring Park. So that being said, that we have to move the cabin to allow them to put that piping in. Because of the fact the older building, which is the one closest to the KU, it's old and it's kind of falling apart, made some inquiries, and Lori helped me on this, Lori Sanders with tourism. It contacted Richmond, and Richmond is interested in that cabin. They wouldn't let us know that. Now, also want to let you know that cabin was given to us from Shelbyville. Okay, so that's the one, if we're gonna move and salvage, that's the one we're gonna do. The other one, which belongs to the families here, we're gonna actually move that down towards the KU building. That way, we're only moving it one time out of the way, because we don't wanna move it and then set it right back again and cause any further problems with that. So I'm gonna be bringing to you later on, once we get all the details worked out, and we'll bring it to council for approval at a later time. Thank you all for those that took part in the revenue forecasting, which is due today. We'll give you that information back at a later time. Also coming to you, will bring you some information for this council to actually not only discuss, but also maybe to vote on, is, as you know, the downtown pilot sidewalk shaving project, which we have talked about before, about shaving some of the rough areas of our sidewalks down. And this project is going to be going forward and with your approval, but we'll bring that to you at a later time. Next at this time, Eddie Hightower, which our city engineer, has an award that we happen to get. And Eddie, I'll let you tell us a little bit of background with that and tell us what the award is.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is like the second award we've gotten for the same project, the streetscape downtown on Royal Springs, the bridge rehab that was done. And it was it was a nice event. It was last week at the University of Louisville, the Faculty Club. And this is a American Council of Engineering Companies award, which is, the other award was a construction award. This is a design award. And we received a plaque. We got a lot of recognition, received a plaque. They were really impressed with the preservation of the historical nature of the bridge, which goes way back to the early days of Georgetown. And we've received this plaque that I will show you all and give to the mayor, and we can display it in the appropriate place. So thank you for letting me represent the city in this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great.
More hardware. Yeah, we like that. Next, something I want to talk a little bit about, and I want to give kudos to our police department. They have been really doing their due diligence on the body-worn cameras, and as you all know, this council approved the position, the civilian position for the person to handle these. And looking back, and as I talked to most of the council members, one of the capital, projects that we're talking about everyday workings for the city was body-worn cameras. And I'm going to go and tell you that in talking with a lot of people and talking with the police, people think that they're afraid to have those cameras on. That's not the issue. That's not it. Funding is the issue. So it is our charge, this council, if we are going to put this in play, then this council needs to be the one to say fund it. If we're talking about protecting not just our police, our people out here, this is something that we need to keep in mind and be funding. We have brought to you they're going to bring you the numbers, and we need to act on this because we have like a 60-day window, because every time after 60 days, you got to go back and renegotiate the contract on locking in that price. So we're going to be bringing that to you later on this council. I'm going to bring it before you to discuss and also to vote upon that we put this in play. Next, I'm going to have the next meeting, the recommendation for the planning and zoning board appointment. I've got those applications. I'm going to go through those. I'm going to select a few to interview, and then I will bring you that recommendation at the next meeting in April for that. All right. Next, council committee meetings, committee reports. Finance?
We met on the 18th and approved the minutes, and the mayor had reviewed the capital needs for fiscal year 25 from each department, and he will be, after he reviews those, he's going to be bringing those to council. We had some discussion about the department heads creating a 5-year capital needs plan, so that's in consideration. It's going to get more discussion. Mayor will plan to meet with each council member and discuss capital needs and funding. I think he's probably wrapped that up now. The mayor also said he would like to have the capital budget by May end timing. We discussed compensation study, and that's designed to help us understand where we are in the market and the relationship to pay scales and emergency personnel compensation. We discussed the new EMS building on Lexus Way. It is currently coming in over budget. The city's interlocal responsibility is $1.6 million. This is above what we had planned for that, and right now it looks like that might be coming out of the general fund for fiscal year 25. So as we prepare the budget, we'll have to keep that $1.6 million in the forefront. Talk about investment discussion, the Stockyards $5 million portfolio, some discussion around that. Stockyards also has a CD that's going to mature April the 9th, 2024. So Stacy's got some good triggers in place to help us identify CD maturity dates. And then we had some discussion about diversification of the funds still.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Next, Public Works.
Yes, Mayor, we met on 11 a.m. on March the 20th at the Georgetown Police Department. We called the meeting to order and approved the minutes. Shay took minutes for me. We talked about the compost and the status update. Robert's about 5% done. He's got 5% more on the Lanes Run Business Park, and it'll be empty. He's worked on that, and that'll be taken care of. You've already mentioned the Royal Springs Park cabins. We talked about that. Mainly, we talked mostly about budget requests and what Robert's going to be asking for in the budget. Definitely a dump truck. The old street sweeper is 9 years old, so a new one costs around $400,000, which would be bigger. But we're hoping that maybe, if we look at the stormwater utility, that would be able to help purchase that if we had that going. So we looked at that. We're hoping that we can get at least one dump truck, and also paving the driveway for Public Works. It hasn't been done for 20 years. I think even he got dinged with risk management from HR too, about the driveway in a recent inspection. So that's something that we probably need to look for too as well. And then Eddie received MAP funds for the city, and it's around $600,000. And Robert received a quote for the driveway payment was $180,000. And we talked about the stormwater utility, and about how we're going to try to talk to Strand, who would determine the fee for us and the size, and ask if it be done in phases. It could, and many surrounding cities have already started implementing those kinds of things. And so we talked about the parking lot downtown. I don't know if you brought that up yet, but we've been approached about parking, so we discussed about, there's a portion that's already paved that Robert and them can paint and to stripe it, and then get the gravel and stuff and do the parking lot at the city. And I think that might be on our agenda tonight, Mayor.
Yes.
And and Republic's coming to council tonight.
Okay.
And that's about it. Trying to sum it up for you.
I believe, thank you. I believe those were the only two that met at this present time. We're going to do number 9, it's Republic Service Update. We have Tim and Todd here. They was here before. I sent them some questions that I received from, not just from this council, also from some constituents. I believe I sent an email out to you all to let you all know what those questions were, and they got those questions too, so, and they will give us that information plus some more. So,
Hello,
thank you for
Mayor,
coming.
Council. It's good to see everybody again. For those that don't know, my name is Todd Prayer. I'm the Manager of Municipal Sales and Government Affairs, and this is our General Manager, Tim Ward.
See you guys again.
One of the first questions from Mayor was, actually, I think maybe the first question last time we were here, is what is being done to help with the loose litter, the loose trash that's not making it into the buckets or perceived not making it into the buckets. When we were here last time, we talked about 2 apparatuses we were purchasing to try. We never had them before. One's an auto tarping unit. They were all on back order. We did finally get that in and installed. It lasted about a week. So we don't know. We didn't have enough time with it to see if it was user error, if it's due to the majority of the bulk that we got to lift in there that's ripping it up. We have reordered parts for it. Again, that is on back order, but we will try it again, maybe do some more extensive training with the driver, maybe test out some bulks there at the yard, who knows, we'll just try different things. We did install, if you remember, the horsehair bristle. We put those on all the other hoppers, the containers in the front. For the most part, they're doing their job. That is to help keep the loose litter from coming up. And then we've gone through more extensive training with the drivers. You know, let's dump the bucket earlier instead of letting it get full to where the wind can maybe scoop off the top. So we're dumping it at a lower level now. So things definitely have improved on that end for us. And then last but not least, you know, we could still use some help on messaging to the residents. You know, it is really helpful to have the trash bagged. That there are a lot out there that are still just loosely throwing their trash, and it's on the ground before we even get there. And then perception again is we left it or it blew out of the truck. So that's on that part of it. What are the hours of service for collection of trash in the community? 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Typically the guys are done for the 6 p.m., but we would not have them out here any later than 6 p.m. Extenuating circumstances, of course. And what is the policy procedure when trash is missed and not collected on the scheduled collection day? Any perceived miss or actual miss, we're gonna get it within 24 hours. We're out here so much anyway. You know, we got so many drivers out here daily, and our supervisors are routinely, and dispatchers routinely checking the call logs. If we get the call in time, we're gonna come out the same day. If the driver's nearby, we're gonna get it that same day. Whether it was an actual miss, a perceived miss, whatever. Somebody calls in and says they were missed, we're gonna come back. And then how do we communicate? Call blast is number one. The app is huge. It's actually maybe people's preference as of now is the app. And lastly, through the city. You know, we communicate a lot through the city with help from Sarah and social media and that kind of thing. So from there, I'm gonna let Tim take on some more stats.
Yeah, a couple of updates on stats. Last time we talked about, you know, how are call volumes and how are those things kind of going, right? So as a reminder, we service roughly 3,700 homes a day, whether it's, you know, one can, multiple cans, trash and recycling, however, it comes out to average out to 3,700 a day. So in the last, you know, 6-ish months, we're talking about 481,000 cans dumped. And that's just for Georgetown. We established, if you guys remember, the new phone number that we're seeing ramp up, which is great. Overall, in that same time frame since our last meeting, really from August 1st through the end of last month, in total, we took in 45,000 phone calls in all of our Lexington market, right? Georgetown itself took in roughly 1,500 off of that new number that we established. Now, there's still probably some people calling the other number, right? So it's probably not that exact number. But when I go through and I can pull a different stat that says, how many people called in and said, I have a service concern, right? We had, where did it go? We average 183 calls a month that says, hey, I think I had some kind of service concern, right? Overall. In Georgetown, it's 46. Of those 46, 8 of them are ones that we said, I'm not really sure we missed you or not, right? The vast majority of what they are is somebody called, and we get a lot of calls in recycling. It would just happen to be the wrong week. Or we definitely get a call, we just hadn't been there yet. Somebody, last week we were there at 8:15, at 9:15, we get a call, hey, you haven't been here yet. We just hadn't been there yet, right? So they still got service same day, but we label that a worry call. If it was the correct day, we just hadn't been there yet. If you remember from before, we were averaging about 113 of those 7 months ago. So what we're seeing is a very steady decline in that, which is the right thing to see, right? I'll still stand by what I said last July. I'm not satisfied until that number's 0. That's the only thing that's acceptable, right? Is everybody's taken care of exactly right, whether it's 100% accurate or whether it's their perception. Perception is reality. So until we get that mark, we're not going to stop. But we have seen a very steady decline. This winter, when we had that 1 week of actual winter weather, that was the lowest number of actual call-ins we had, and a huge kudos to the city because there was great communication back and forth. Y'all were great with posts online to make sure everything fit. So the sense that we got is people were informed as to what was going on, right? When you have multiple weather days in a row, it's hard to keep up with that. And we extended a thank you to you guys because that was really, really good kind of co-communication to residents to know what was going on. That was the less than half of what we saw any other stretch of weather. So it was a big kudos to you guys for all that work. We talked about technology last time, so as an update, we've gotten what is called our RISE tablets all installed in every one of our trucks. The next step that starts rolling out in June, though I don't have 100% data on when ours is, it's a software update. This is where we update our turn-by-turns. This is where it will automate the notifications to a customer, right? If an item, it's pretty rare that we ever have something that's quote-unquote blocked for a residential customer. Or if we got there and their can wasn't out and we can't see it, right? Kind of what's called a not out in our world. It notifies them automatically. A lot of times when we have those call-ins later, a huge bulk of them are, we were there before they put their can out, but it's really hard to call somebody at 6:45 in the morning and get a hold of them and let them know. So this automates that process, and then obviously it helps us make sure we're working with our residents. It also really helps when we build in these turn-by-turns for, we're human. We're gonna make a mistake and break off early because, we had more bulk items out than not, and we leave, and then we come back and we mess up the next stop that it should have been. Or you have a substitute driver and they didn't realize they missed this little corner, right? Those are human things that happen. As this gets automated, it prevents that because it logs exactly where you left off and the GPS tells you where to go. So it actually helps tremendously with those things. So again, that's coming. That's the next part of the rollout. For us to prepare for that, we've got one of our operations clerk riding with every single residential driver on every single day of the week and making sure our sequencing is in order and turn by turn will actually match what the system says, right? We love to rely on computers. We got to make sure it's human proof. So we're making sure that all matches up so far. That started months ago because to have somebody ride every single route in the entire market is a lot. So we're working towards those. The other thing we talked about before was our gas plant. So the gas plant was officially opened in October. And so all of the municipal waste that's going into our Benson Valley landfill is creating gas, and it's all being converted into natural gas that is sold directly to Atmos. So it's going right back into the local market. The initial estimate was it will be the equivalent of shutting down 31 million gallons of gasoline a year, is how much it's supposed to be. We should, in the next few months, start to get the real stats and say it is what that is. But so far, it's working really, really well. But it's a great thing to know that what we're producing and is capturing properly that used to be just burned off properly in a flare is actually producing natural gas. And it's local. It goes right into Atmos Energy's pipeline, which happens to be right on our property there. So it's an easy transition from there. Am I missing anything? I felt like I talked a lot.
So, on the rise, correct me if I'm wrong, as the driver's routed, when he cycles a can, when he dumps it, it will check mark that complete to some.
It check marks as complete, and residents will be able to opt in to notifications. So they'll be able to get notifications that, hey, truck's on my way. They'll get notifications that it's been done, which is pretty cool. And the system will automate the pictures to go along with it to show them that it's done. If we have things like where, we have larger bulk items that one person can't handle, and we'll call in somebody else to come back and get it, it automates the notification on there, right? We definitely see those calls where we got it, somebody catches it in a Ring camera at 8:15 in the morning that we drove off. They end up calling us before we can get to them to say, hey, don't worry, I got a guy that's gonna be there this afternoon. We need 2 people to lift this item. So that'll automate a lot of that, which just means they'll get notified a whole lot quicker, which kind of eliminates some of that confusion, eliminates a lot of those phone calls.
Mayor, I have a comment if it's appropriate.
Question, yes, you may.
Question. I think this report is very helpful, and the improvements that are being made are ongoing, and I'm particularly excited about the natural gas aspect coming back into the pipeline. That's exciting. I had a question about, can the drivers see if some of the flyaway garbage ends up behind the truck or in the street? Can they have a visual of that? And if so, are they allowed to get out of the truck and pick it up and put it in? Or
Yes, and I do expect them to.
you would expect them to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So those are definitely instances. If we see that that didn't happen, we need to know about it, because that's what I expect to happen. There are definitely times, those are big trucks, you have blind spots. Definitely could say we 100% may not see everything, but we see it, I expect them to see it, right? We've got cameras surrounding those trucks, so if I can see it, they can see it.
So if we continue to see that, and it's, some of the complaints I get are basically that, more than missed routes and things, so we can tell them to call, and you can
Yeah,
make it.
100%, absolutely. Get a hold of us, and we will be out there to figure out what's going on.
And
Okay.
I'll share some pictures with council. I'll email you
Yeah.
of what our drivers are seeing as far as that loose trash I'm seeing. Like when we pull up and it's already there, right? It's already on the ground. So
Yeah.
perception is that came from us, but
Yeah,
in all honesty, it's not saying none of it blows. That's not what I'm saying.
yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
say, we don't accept that as an excuse, right?
Yep.
We've got an obligation to make sure we do our part of this. That's why we're gonna continue to find different items that work. And I expect our guys, if we created it, we need to pick it up,
Yep.
right? And if we don't, I need to know about it. I'm never gonna shy away from that.
Okay,
Not gonna pretend we're perfect, but I will not stop until we are.
okay, thank you.
I want to just ask one question.
Yeah.
I mean, I've learned a lot today. I appreciate that. The one question one of the questions was for my constituents when you said, I know you're only human, but if you do miss it, I know you say you will come back the same day, but what if you do miss it and it's the next week? Does the person get a credit, whatever that may be, if it's $2 or, I mean, you know
So
what I'm
generally, we
saying?
don't, because if we have to come back, we get all the trash.
Right.
Right? So part of what you're paying is for all the trash that goes through there, and we will make an extra trip to do it.
But say you don't, just because I've had some people that said that. That's why that was a
So
question.
I would say get a hold of us, and we'll kind of look at that as a one-off. That would be pretty rare.
I know,
But if it is, then we need to know.
I'd be fussing if that was me and you missed it. I want my credit. I don't care if it's $1 or whatever. That's-
And
But
that's what
that was just, I just wanted to make sure, just
Right.
to ask that. But I appreciate everything that you said. I've
Absolutely.
learned a lot. Thank you.
I have a question, Mayor.
Yep.
What is the new phone number?
He
Good
would ask
grief,
that,
it's
wouldn't he?
502. See, we have, I don't remember it off the
I
top
can
of my
probably
head.
find it easier by searching an email that I sent to Sarah.
While they're searching, and so I just want to comment that the fact of the matter is that, I think it's very important that people get educated as to what is being done from last year to this year. But also, I want to ask a question, is there a way that to help residents about bagging? We know, we tell them, and to do that, could there be a sticker that you could send out or give to each of the constituents in their homes? They can stick this on their trash cans to remind them, hey, you need to bag these up, because that's how it's supposed to be done.
I think anything is a good idea to look into. I don't know that I've ever thought of a sticker for that specifically, but it's a good idea to look into. So we'll do some follow-up.
Thank you.
And look into that, absolutely.
Yeah, I got the new number. When did that go into effect?
Last July.
Last July.
Yeah, when
And
I
you
look
said-
at the numbers that came through, it was like there's 41 calls in July, and then it's usually about 180-ish August going forward. So it was last July that it went into place.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I want to make a comment, if I could.
Real quick, Mr.
Yeah.
Allen, I think due to some transition that was going on in the city, it didn't get posted in July to the city, but that's when it was effective.
I was curious to see if the numbers were high when the new number went into effect. Did the numbers drop off just because of lack of communication in terms of getting the new number
Relatively
out?
consistent. I think where we're gonna see a little bit of noise for a while is, obviously, the main number, the other number still exists, the 263-2000. Some people are gonna have that number saved. What we honestly do expect over time is we'll see numbers fall off too, because more and more people, like Todd was saying, just prefer using the app. So the more people that are on the app, the more people are gonna go through there. It doesn't register as a call, right? And so as we get certain numbers kind of ramped up on there, we'll be able to combine all of that to say, here's overall communication.
It's the follow-up question. Do you roll in the phone, the calls you get, the app, the numbers or the communication coming from the app? Do you roll all that together to look at
Like
the total
misses and stuff,
concerns?
yeah. The full matrix is.
So
from
that's
both
the 46
sources.
is all that rolled up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I think it's I think it's a great idea what the mayor said about some type of a sticker, because here's the thing. We talk about apps, we talk about the internet. There are several people, residents in Georgetown, that don't have that.
You're exactly right.
Yep.
And I have been approached many times about, I set my mattress out, well, they didn't wrap it. They didn't know they were supposed to call you 2 or 3 days prior to the pickup. So if there's just even the telephone number
Yeah.
on a sticker, on the can, any questions, call, and then they can, instead of assuming that like they used to set their mattress out, that Public Works would come pick it up, which is what they did.
I think.
And now it's communication.
Yeah, just thinking off the top of my head on the mayor's sticker idea is, initially, bold letters of please bag your trash before disposing of into the cart.
And a phone.
And then bulk items, please call in case there's certain guidelines, here's your number.
That's a great
For
idea.
bulk items.
That may save a lot of.
Yeah, instead of trying to put a whole
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
list together.
Yeah.
Just call us, bulk items number.
Ms. Tackett, you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple of comments. First of all, I know that, you don't want any complaints, but all in all, with 39,000 people in the city, 140 or 47 complaints is really not bad. So I do kind of want to give you kudos. I've not had any issues, and not even in our area have we had any. And it was my fault because I didn't set out the blue container on the right day. But I went on the website and pulled it up, and I can put my address in to find out when there's going to be like a holiday, when the trash is going to come the next time. And it's really easy, but I didn't know about the app, so I'm going to do that now.
Yeah.
Yep,
I'm
it's
happy.
handy because you can
Go
also choose
online.
notifications.
Go online to sign up on the app. Don't go through the app to sign
Okay.
up, because you're a municipality where the municipality pays. We bill the municipality, so you have to check mark the box, and you can only do that online.
Well, I just want to also reiterate that Greg and Todd did a really good job bringing us the price that we got on a monthly basis compared to what it was going to be, because the reason why we had to do what we did is because we didn't have a dump anymore.
Right.
It was closed down, so we had to do something. So they got us recycling as well. So good job, Greg and Todd, because we got it for $15.65 or something like that with the recycling.
And around recycling, we had to, I think right at the beginning of the last meeting, we had to split it into what we refer to as A week, B week. Because you guys are growing, like we're continuing to see growing participation. In the Lexington market, you guys actually have our highest participation in recycling, which is
Yay.
great.
Yeah, we're
Right.
excited.
Great.
It feels weird coming from people that own a landfill, but the less that goes in the landfill, the better, right? The
Yes.
more that actually is recycled and can find other ways to go, is better for all.
And just a follow-up comment on that, it is also important to be educated because I was horrible at it, but now I'm learning.
For those of you that love recycling, Republic on a whole, we just opened the first one of its kind, and we're gonna open another one in Indianapolis where our materials from this area will be going. It's the first ever polymer center. It's plastics. And we've already gotten commitments from Coca-Cola and other large corporations that 40% of the recycled bottles are coming from the polymer center. It's food grade recycling center. We had to send, actually some people in Germany had to make the machines for us because nobody could do it here in the States.
Wow.
But it's first of its kind. It's awesome. It's, we're real excited about it.
It's good.
Mayor?
Yes.
Make a follow-up to your comment about the stickers. Just on the stickers itself, you said, please bag your garbage. Maybe if we can make that, just please help us keep your streets clean.
Oh, yeah.
We'll
yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
have it, yeah.
Yes.
Good point.
That's why I would like for you to bag your.
Yes.
Yes.
We will be very, not polite, but we will ask encouragingly. How about that?
Do we need to get the Smoky Bear up there and let him be the person, the spokesperson for all this? All right. There's no more comments. Tim and Todd, thank you all so much. And,
Thank you.
Again, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We're going to, on the agenda, we're going to kind of shift over a little bit. We're going to go to number 11, and we'll come back to 10 a little later on. So we're going to come with our Chief Administrative Officer, and she's going to talk about the first reading of the ordinance correcting street name Buffalo Spring Trail. The sponsors are Willow Hambrick and Connie Tackett.
So this is a true cleanup ordinance. Whitley with GIS contacted Emily about a discrepancy on a street name, so we truly just need to make this correction so that PVA, GIS, everybody's singing from the same music sheet. And so with that, Tracy, I'll turn it over to you.
An ordinance correcting the street name of Buffalo Springs Trail to Buffalo Spring Trail in the official city street map. Summary: renames Buffalo Springs Trail to Buffalo Spring Trail to match the street name as recorded in Plat Book CAB 5, page 1723 in the land records of the Scott County Clerk's Office. 2, provides for repeal of inconsistent ordinances, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the City Clerk's Office, 629 North Broadway, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324, or at www.georgetownky.gov. Introduced and published read the first time, March 25th, 2024.
All right. On B, the municipal order approving the contract for the housing needs assessment.
So before we jump into this one, just a housekeeping item. I know I'd spoken to Tracy and Emily about whether there needed to be just Robert's Rules, the motion to get this back on the table, but based on the way that it was tabled and the language used, it doesn't look like that's necessary. So that won't be necessary to bring this back to the agenda for consideration. I know Mayor shared some information with the council. I was sick at the last meeting, obviously, but I understand that there were some questions about some other studies that have been conducted in our community, largely surrounding economic development that maybe had some housing components. So I know the mayor shared a memorandum and a spreadsheet along with those studies for the council's consideration in advance of today's meeting, just to consider what components those studies did and didn't include, as compared to what the housing needs assessment aims to accomplish for our community. So, Mayor, I don't know if you would like to add anything there.
Well, another thing with this is, I am in fully support of this. And the reason why is you see, one of the biggest issues we have is affordable housing. And this position is not being funded by just the city of Georgetown. We also, it's done through fiscal court. on this position. This was done in the previous council, did this. And for this housing assessment, you have not just the city of Georgetown, you also have the fiscal court coming on this, as well as the business people coming in on this. So everybody sees a great need for this. So, again, I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's something that we need to look at. We have other people coming in together with this, and I am in full support of this, and I'm hoping that you will be in support of this in passing this.
Mayor, if I could make one comment or ask a question.
I'd like to make a motion
Wait,
first.
wait, wait, make a motion.
I'll make a
Make a
motion.
Motion
I'll
is
make
made by Ms. Hambrick, second by Ms. Tackett. Are there further questions and or comment? Go.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I get the fiscal court and Scott United and City of Georgetown's involved with this and the business community. There's one piece of the puzzle missing. Why isn't the Georgetown Housing Authority involved in this? That is ridiculous. And I've had people that explain and said that, various people shut things down, and I get that. But you haven't built anything since '92. We have people that are homeless. We have people that are in desperate need of housing, and you sit there and don't do a thing. And from what I understand, they're having trouble taking care of what they got. So, the Housing Authority has always been great. Betty Gillespie ran it with an iron fist. Harry Dickerson ran it. Tom Wilson ran it. They did a great job. But, it's still, they're not to the table. They need to step up and be a part of this. And I think they need to take an equal share of this cost, and they need to come up with their own plans of what they're going to do to help us.
I have a comment and a question for maybe Emily, but maybe Devin. Isn't the Housing Authority federal?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so here's my understanding of it. I support the assessment. In fact, I was impressed by reading over the material. Candace can't do her job without having this information in order to bring us a plan.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing about that is that Kentucky Housing Corporation will work with builders and help develop properties, because March Chris did it in like the early 90s, the townhouses over on Elm Court.
Yep.
Yeah, you remember that?
Parkside subdivision.
Yeah, and Parkside subdivision was Kentucky Housing as well. I was involved in that, actually. So there is grant money out there, and again, we're gonna have a grant writer too, but that's gonna help fund this and do this. And we've got, this is 2 years funded. We can't drag our feet on it anymore. We need to get it done so that we can have a plan. And as far as the Housing Authority goes, I don't understand that, and I don't know why. I just know that they have a list long of people, and there's not places out there for people to live. That's just the bottom line. And some landlords and some owners don't want to take Section 8 housing because it's totally different from what it used to be. And that's what Housing Authority does.
I ditto that.
Sorry.
I ditto that.
Todd, can I make a comment to your?
Absolutely.
I think one really important thing that Candace has been doing, and that's something that maybe has been lacking, maybe hasn't, I don't have the full history, but having the city at the table with the Housing Authority and fully engaged in communicating, I think is going to be a real benefit, because I think we've operated in silos for a long time. I mean, the Housing Authority is, they're established and funded completely independently. The mayor sits, the mayor appoints their board, and he sits as an ex officio, but beyond that, they're board operated. And so, but the relationship and the communication historically maybe could have used some improvement.
And I agree with that, and I'm glad that there is that line of communication. But, if, and I've said it before on other projects, perception and reality. They're not doing anything, so why?
It might be budgetary. It could very well be
You know,
budgetary with people
why
being.
don't we have the director of the housing authority here to explain to us, if we're funneling money to them, if we're giving money to them, why they're not doing what they're supposed to be
I
doing?
don't think we're funding
We
them at
don't, we
all.
don't fund it.
Well, but, I'm sorry, okay, that's right, you appoint them, why aren't they here explaining why they're not doing things? Why does Northern Heights look the way it does? Why is, with the trash all over everywhere, why is,
Well, I'm gonna comment about that a little bit here. I understand that, going forward is, and the new director is really making some positive changes from what has been happening at the place. And, in direct contact with Candace and myself, I sitting on that board as an ex-official on that, is I've challenged them, said, you all, and that's the question I had. I said, why can't we do some of these things? And she is open to try to do some of these. There was a mess and a lot of things that happened that she's trying to clean up. And it's gonna take a little time. I think that we need to do our due diligence, give a little time to get things back in some type of order. And I'm sure we will approach her on a lot of these issues and say, can you help us with this? Because once she finds out from this assessment what the needs are, we can share that with her, or share with them, say, hey, this is the issue we're having here, so come in on that. So, yes.
I'm not against this. I'm just kind of halfway on it. I mean, I want to do what's best for our community. I mean, I want to look out for our community and their money or whatever. While research and all this is good, I'm just worried about spending a significant amount of resources and not seeing any tangible outcome, I mean, I want to see something done. I don't want to just keep spending money researching and nothing's getting done. I mean, let's use some practical common sense. Let's come together at the table and, I mean, we know it's an issue, but there's things that we can do, work with contractors and stuff, like you said, with March Christmas and stuff like that, but I'm like, spending people's money, that's where I'm on the fence with. I mean, it's needed, I'm not against it, but it's just like, you keep spending money just on different projects, this and that. We got needs, and I'm not going, like fire station, this, that, but I'm just saying, I'm just on the fence because, like I said, spending money, are we gonna see something that's gonna actually work, and we're gonna get something started without just keep spending money on research?
It's pretty extensive. I mean, I read through it. They're gonna be giving a lot of information.
I read it.
Yeah.
We do this, we read. I mean, I've watched city council meetings before I came on here. It's just like you get stuff done, you research, you spend money, but what is getting done,
Right.
That's me personally.
And I want to say one other thing. Candace, you're doing a phenomenal job. You've got the weight of the world on your shoulder. By no means am I saying anything about you. You're doing a phenomenal job. I want to see the housing authority more involved in this than what they are, because so far, I mean, we're doing the work and we're getting crickets out of it.
Right.
Or that's the first perception.
All right.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
Candace, thank you for going back and looking at the 3 reports. I appreciate that. I am in favor of the assessment, like I said last meeting, but I'm also in favor of the taxpayers' money and spending money appropriately. I think we do need the assessment, so I'm in favor of it. But here's what I'm asking. On page 27, which talks about the project budget, okay, there is task number 8, which is an optional in-person meetings. On page 25, there's some fine print that says all meetings referenced throughout the scope of services are proposed as virtual meetings. The same content and meetings can be held in person with staff and/or public if elected to proceed with its optional task. So I would like to see us not do the in-person meetings, just do the virtual meetings. By doing that, we can save the $7,000. We've been online and doing virtual meetings for quite some time. I just see an opportunity to save $7,000 off of this by not having the in-person meeting and just have the virtual meeting. I don't know if that.
That's consistent with the municipal order. It's a not to exceed value, so the motion could be that the council would be required to approve the
42.
additional cost of an in-person meeting, so that 42 value, and I'm, when we evaluated the proposals, we looked at both numbers, that it was the low value with with both numbers. But the motion could take the form, or the motion's already happened, I guess, but, you know, we pledge that if that in-person meeting were to be recommended, that it would have to be approved by the council.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have another meeting, but I don't know if anybody else, I want to see if anybody else has any questions first.
I was just looking at the timeline of the study. I'm sorry, Megan.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I was just looking at the timeline of the study, and it looks like it's to be final in June. Is that correct?
Wait a minute, yeah, come on up, Con.
I believe it was June whenever we were gonna be able to get started a little earlier, so I think now it would be more like July or August.
Okay, what would be the timeline for payment for the study?
I actually have that written down. They'd be billed monthly invoices based on the percentage of work.
So conceivably, we could have probably 3 to 4 months of it in the next fiscal year, correct?
Yeah, I think, assuming July, I think the bulk of this would be billed in this fiscal year, but it would just be a carry forward at the end of the fiscal year regardless.
I guess my question is there any way we could defer part of this and have it actually in the budget for next year?
It's $16,500 is our portion. I mean, it's gonna be like,
I'm
just guessing percentages of completion.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of, along the lines of our trying to get our deficit in line and things like that, and we're close on it, and I hate to add things to it, when we're so close. I mean, I'm 100% for this, don't get me wrong. I'm just looking at the timeline for payments. So.
Is there any other comment or any other questions?
Would the motion need to be amended based on the 42,525 or?
I don't think so. I think it's an approval of a not to exceed value. I mean, I think just in good faith, we wouldn't just willy-nilly have them come in person to a meeting. I think the intention was always to take the base value, and if we got deeper into the project and the council said, an in-person presentation would really make sense here, we've got big questions, we could come back to that, but yeah, like I said, it's a not to exceed. If you prefer for the motion to take that form, that's fine.
I'm fine with the way that it's written.
I'll make a motion that we accept it.
Motion's made.
Wait, we already have a motion.
Oh, we already had the motion. I'm sorry.
So now, we need to vote on it now at this point in time. So,
I was gone
hold
for
on
a
just a
week.
minute.
I'm trying to get back to the original reading of it, I'm sorry. Not to exceed the cost of 49,525. That's what it says, but with these.
There's also a city portion of the cost not to exceed 16,508.
Right, that's our portion of it.
But that's based on the 49,525.
In the contract, it still reads that there's an option cost that we would have to exercise. Like I said, if you want to change the motion, it's not an issue, but, the contract reads that we would have to actively exercise that option in order to incur that cost.
Would it be recommended we change the motion, or?
It's within your discretion, so you'll make a motion to amend it, and you could just add,
Not to exceed the 42,525?
or, yeah, you could do that. You could change.
I
it
would like to
now.
see that in the motion,
And I'll second that,
because.
if you make a motion.
I don't understand.
It's not complicated.
You want the numbers
so
right.
the motion is, right now, we have at 49, what is it now?
It's the not to exceed the 49,525. I think what I'm hearing is that you'd like the motion to read that the contract is approved, provided that the optional in-person meeting would have to be reapproved by the council.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Which I think we would have been doing that
I can
anyway.
just amend that to our motion.
So, someone needs to move to amend the motion.
We
And if you're good with the language Devin suggested, that still leaves the full dollar amount being approved. But that additional, they would have to come back to you for the in-person to get that approval to exercise that option. So just understanding that full dollar amount is what is still on the table. And so you need an amended motion to change that, and then you need a second on that amendment, and then you can make the vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you have to go back and vote on the original motion.
Let me ask Candace, is it a problem to do virtual?
I do not foresee it being a problem right now. I think leaving the option open was something that we were hoping in case we got into this again and thought it would be helpful.
But the intent was to do virtual meetings.
Yeah, that's,
So,
I'd like to make a comment if I could, if I could.
go ahead.
At our last council meeting, I asked you the question if we were under a time constraint. And I think there were only 5 of us here. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that we agreed that we were going to table it. We bring it back on the agenda tonight. City Hall sent us an email Thursday that had 3 different documents attached to the email. And if I'm not mistaken, I think each one of those documents was, I think one of them, I think actually all 3 of them were well over 2 years old. Maybe one of them was 3 years old.
For the old school.
So it was old data. So I know you're still fairly new to this position. Am I allowed to ask, because I know after the last council meeting, we had a challenge about not being able to ask department heads questions. So
So this is an
I'd like to
item,
get clarification if I'm able to talk to
sure.
Candace or not.
This is an item that is currently in front of the council for consideration.
Yes.
And you're taking an active vote on it, so you're welcome
Okay.
to ask her questions.
Okay, I just want to get clarification because
Yep.
I don't want to get my hand slapped a second time tonight. Granted, you're still fairly new to this position. And Stacy, maybe I'm crossing the line asking Stacy a question now, so I'll stay focused here. Has there ever been a needs assessment study done?
I will say that Joan Kane sent me one from 1991.
So it's been 33 years since a needs assessment study's been done. I get it. I have the utmost respect for those. I've listened to every comment that's been made tonight, I promise. I've listened to every comment. And we can all have different opinions, and I get that and I respect that. There's a motion and a second on the table to vote for what's on the agenda. I want to keep it the way it is and take a vote on it, and let's vote it up or down. And if we don't vote it in, then let's change it and add an amendment to it. I'm ready to take a vote on the motion that's had a second.
I'm ready as well.
I mean, we can talk about this all night long, and again, I totally respect those that have a different opinion. I do. But again, we have the money. We have the money. So again, I'm ready to take a vote on what's on the table.
I just want to piggyback and just say, the wording's already in there. They're not going to spend any money unless they bring it back to us anyway.
Exactly.
And sometimes we might want somebody to show up. We might want to hear their side of it. So I want to keep it the same as well.
So, we have the motion. The original motion is that to accept the proposal as written. We have had a motion, had properly second. So now we have a vote for this. All those in.
Hold up, Mayor. I think there was an attempted motion to amend,
Yeah,
and
I
I think
think-
that was going to get a second.
Okay,
So
okay.
let's.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry.
It got a second from Sanja. So just to clarify, I just want to make sure.
Right.
Yeah, so I think
Sorry,
the
Mayor.
motion to amend it has been made and seconded. So you need to
Do
vote
that-
on
one
that
first,
to see if
okay,
it passes
so-
or fails.
So let's vote on the one of the amendment first. All those in favor of the motion of the second amendment, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say likewise.
No.
Oh, no.
All right. So now we're gonna go back to the,
There's 3 ayes.
3 ayes
Correct.
and 5 yeas. Now we're gonna go back to the original, and we had a motion and had a proper second. We had questions. Now, All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say likewise. Let the record reflect that the motion passed. Next on the agenda, we're going to bring up the city engineer, and we're going to back up again, and we're going to do the A, B, C, and D. And this is the one about the municipal order approving concrete construction contract, the asphalt construction contract, the municipal order approving pavement markings contract, and the municipal order approving asphalt/stone material contract.
Yes.
Give us a little background there.
Yes, sir. Those four, A, B, C, and D, are annual contracts that the city has had for a long, long time. They are for paving, sidewalk repair, curb and gutter. It provides unit prices where we can issue work orders based on those unit prices for individual projects that the city deems necessary for repair work. So they've all been bid out, publicly bid, competitively bid, and the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for each one of those four, A through D, has been recommended for award.
Need a motion, Mayor, for the four?
Yes.
Motion, A, B, C, and D.
I'll second.
All right, motion is made by Ms. Tackett, second by Ms. Conway. Are there further questions and or comments? All those in favor of the motions to approve A, B, C, and D, municipal order for the concrete, asphalt, and paving and stone, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say likewise.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Next is E, municipal order approving contract for Colony subdivision interest improvements.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. E is a special project that the city asked us to look at, and it's at the Colony subdivision out on 25 near Cardinal Drive, near the high school. Cars have been backing up during peak hourly traffic times for a number of years, and so this project, the scope of work is to cut into the center island, which is grass, the grass median, and to build a new turn lane, a left-out turn lane and a right-out turn lane to get those cars from stacking up to move better during those peak times over there. And we bid the project, and the lowest responsive and responsible bidder was Hinkle Construction out of Paris, the same company that did Cardinal Drive for us.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion is made by Mr. Allen, second by Ms. Tackett. Are there further questions and or comments?
Question, Mayor.
Yes.
If all goes well, when do we think we might have this project completed?
I'd have to talk to the contractor and see what their schedule for mobilization is. I'm hoping to have it completed by the fall. Yeah, that's my goal. But I need to talk to them first and see when they can get.
You're talking about by the time school starts?
Yes, I'm hopeful.
That'd be great.
Are there further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say likewise. Next is the municipal order approving center of town parking lot improvements.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is the parking lot we've been discussing. It's using the gravel option, making it a gravel lot, adjacent to the other public parking lot, which is blacktop, the one that we're talking about striping in the parking stalls. I believe that the county and the city are sharing in the costs, if that's correct, Mayor? Yes.
Being approached by fiscal court to
Okay.
share the cost, yes.
To give temporary parking during the time where the festival, the farmers market pavilion is, and the city hall project have taken up the bulk and the lion's share of the parking behind City Hall. So we're trying to provide some additional parking for especially during court days and peak times where there's a lot of traffic downtown. And so asking for approval for that project.
Do you need a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Tackett, second by Ms. Hambrick. Are there further questions or comments?
Mayor,
Yes.
just a couple of questions. On the already paved portion, if you stripe it, how many spots will that create?
We're expecting about 40 new spots.
Just of what's already paved, or if we include the gravel?
That would be the gravel, up to 40, if we can get people to park in straight lines.
Yeah, but just with the, with the portion you already have paved.
Yeah, and then
right
there's
now.
about 25 or so on the blacktop portion.
Is anyone currently parking there right now?
It hasn't been utilized a lot. We're hopeful that with some additional signage and some getting the word out, especially to employees, that work, downtown, to start using it once it's in place, that we're hoping that it'll start filling up and being used more.
How many spots did we lose behind City Hall, or how many are we going to lose? Do we know?
For the City Hall parking or construction project?
Yeah.
I have to go back and
I
count,
thought we
but
lost close to 30.
30.
Is what I was
30.
Okay. But I guess my question is, if we do additional signage and we strike the currently paved lot down there and, make sure everyone knows about it, I mean, would it sort of make sense to wait on the gravel portion to see, how that helps before we, spend the money to do this? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
Sure, yeah, that's your all's decision,
Who's going to be responsible for the upkeep? I mean, is this going to be still a joint effort?
Yes. Matter of fact, the joint effort of people is putting together. And the thing is to remember is this, if you try to go downtown tonight, most of you all was parking somewhere else because of the new Brown Barrel's open.
Yeah.
You may have another one down here. Parking is an issue.
Yeah.
So, this is a temporary solution for right now. We may want to do something with that later on, but for right now, this is the best option for us to try to do that. I think we will do our due diligence to make sure we get the proper signage up, communicate even to our webpage and so on, and not just letting them know parking is located there, but other places in downtown where we have public parking.
Yes.
Because people need to know that. And then once we do all that, I think that would be a better outcome for that, but it is needed.
And Mayor, if I could, I know that in a lot of times being downtown, the parking lots behind on the south side of Main Street, they're hardly used.
Hardly anybody.
I mean, so,
What do you mean, ones? Which one are you talking about?
the one behind Doug Smith. I mean, there's a lot of spaces still open down there, coming down during the day, so I think, need to make sure that signage is up for that as well. So.
Okay. We'll put it out there to make sure everybody know where all located. But like you said, they did little statistics on where people go to shop, and people don't. Statistics shows that about most people to go to shop wouldn't go more than 50 feet.
Yeah.
And and that when you're locking them all up, you're gonna have to go a few places to get there. And like I said, and as we do these events downtown, the need for having this is gonna be more paramount for us.
And we also have people that are parking and not moving. We don't have anybody chalking the tires. So they'll stay all day.
Okay.
Just to throw that out.
Well, all right.
It's a big issue. It is.
And I think that was one of the things that came up years ago, was because, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, it was a part of somebody filed a suit on Tyrant, Michigan, I think. They filed a suit on, it was unlawful, help me out, it wasn't unlawful search and seizure, but.
It was an unlawful search.
Because that Chark Mall.
I have a question about the topic. So how many, in that blacktop area, how many spots can we get if it was striped off?
We're thinking around 20, 25, somewhere in there.
And the cost for that would be,
Well, it's already blacktop, so we would just paint it. We would use Public Works to paint it. And we're gonna do all the, Public Works is, and the city and the county are gonna build the parking lot too.
I'm just asking about the blacktop, not
Oh,
the rest of it, not the
okay.
gravel and all that.
I understand.
Just asking how many spots could we get there?
Be about 25, we're thinking, yeah.
All right, there's any more questions and or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say likewise.
Oh,
All right, we have 6-2 in favor, so the motion passed. All right. Next on the agenda, need to come back to number 10, and that's going to be the GMWSS, and we're going to let Chase come up, and I think numbers A, B, C, D, and E are actually payments that we're going to have to make. Is that correct?
Correct, Mayor, and if permissible, if I
Yes.
could go through those.
Yes,
and I
please
believe
do.
Mr. Singleton has signed up for a public comment.
Okay.
And I'd let him come to the podium, and then I'll come back and do the update for South Sewer on item F, if that's
Okay,
permissible.
yes, that would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Singleton?
First, we have a purchase order for Lane Christensen Company in the amount of $15,730. This is a rebuild of a raw water pump at the water treatment plant. We have 5 total pumps, and under our operations budget, we try to rehab 1 pump per year, so every pump gets looked at once every 5 years. This is a budgeted item with the type of pump it is. It is a sole source item. They've inspected this. They know that this is the cost to do the necessary rehab to get this back in service. And so this is recommended for your consideration. You want me to do all of them?
Yeah, you can do A, B, C, and D.
Okay.
And E.
Second item is a purchase order. This would be, for lack of a better term, a blanket PO for $45,000 for a truck purchase through Enterprise Fleet Management. Over the past 3 years, we've budgeted for 8 replacement vehicles due to supply chain issues. We've only been able to source 3 vehicles in that time. We have one department that is down 2 fleet vehicles. This is just a creative, different way for us to try to source a vehicle. We've been experienced the same challenges that the city has in sourcing vehicles. So what we would like to do is just have this purchase order as a not to exceed. So if we see a truck even on a lot, we can instruct Enterprise to go pick it up for us. That's what we're doing here. We actually found one in Nicholasville we think is just under $41,000 on the road. So that would be under this, but this is a budgeted purchase. We're trying to get caught up with our fleet, and we're gonna be doing it kind of one vehicle at a time as we find it. So that is the purpose of this purchase order through Enterprise Fleet Management. Any questions on that one?
Okay.
Okay. Next, we have a purchase order for Judy Construction, the amount of $510,510,489.29. This is for work completed on the wastewater treatment plant number 1 upgrade and expansion the month of February. This marks 70% complete on our budget, and that kind of comes into the 2 components, 47% on work complete, 23% on stored materials. We are recommending for this for approval. It is representative of the work completed during that time period. Items D and E, both purchase orders related to the same event. First one is to Strafer Pump for $19,565. Second one to Rio Grande Fence Company for $15,918.65. This is replacement for a pump control panel and a fence and a guardrail replacement at our Love Homes pump station. This is in the vicinity, it serves a service area in the vicinity of Old Oxford and Connector Road. Pump station was struck by a vehicle earlier this month. Not one of our vehicles, not one of our drivers. We're working with Georgetown PD and our insurance carrier, and hopefully the responsible party's insurance carrier to file this claim. However, we need to get this pump station fixed in a permanent manner. Right now, we're operating it. We have it set up on a temporary basis. That does not need to remain. We need to fix the pump station now, and then we will give every effort to track down the correct insurance to get reimbursed for these two expenses. Any questions on items A through E?
Motion, Mayor.
I'll second.
Okay, have a motion made by Mr. Stone, second made by Ms. Brett. Are there further questions and or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say likewise.
And then I'll introduce Mr. Singleton on behalf of Sawyer Point, and he has a public comment that he's signed up for.
Okay. Mr. Singleton, now you got it.
Mayor, council members, good to see you all again.
Hello. Thank you.
It's interesting that one of the themes apparently for tonight is affordable housing and the need for affordable housing here in the community. And so even before I get to my remarks, I want to tell you a little bit about who our residents are and who my client is. First of all, our residents are low-income housing owners, and they're owners. They're not merely renters. You know, they have a level of home ownership. They rent a space in the mobile home park, and they take a certain level of pride in that. Secondly, my client, the owners of the mobile home park, these folks are dedicated to the community. I mean, you guys know what the Sawyer Point previous owners' mobile home park looked like. My guys are trying to fix that. My guys are trying to make it safer. My guys are trying to make it so that that pride that the residents have is built into where they live. Safety is part of that, but also just having a good environment that you live in. Now, as we were here before, we're here again to talk about paving related to the destruction of the roads within the mobile home park that is a result of the project that is a private-public cooperation to do the South Sewer extension. From the very beginning, it was a combination, a collaboration, and we want to keep it that way. So we're here to talk about getting approval from y'all to use excess KIA funds that, according to the user agreement, already benefit us. There's going to be, at the end of the day, no increase in the cost to the city or the municipal water board. There's not going to be any cost to the taxpayers, the ratepayers. And part of that is because we, the mobile home park, are going to be paying that portion of the KIA loan that is affiliated with our part of the project. The part of the project is broken down through the operating agreement into three parts. We, the mobile home park, are responsible for Section 1B. And I know that Chase is going to go into a lot more detail about this when he has more than 4 minutes. But at the end of the day, there's not going to be any risk also to the city or the municipal water board. And that's because within the user agreement itself, it establishes that we, the mobile home park owners, are to put up a payment bond to cover all of our costs associated with what we have to repay. In addition, there's not going to be any effect on the city's ability to get other financing for other projects. It's not going to affect your credit rating. We've checked with that. I think Chase might talk about that as well. What's it? 1 more minute. Bottom line, there is money in the savings that we have ourselves, about $614,000, that we're at least asking you to allow us to use that. That in the user agreement, that's part of the benefit that flows to us anyway. All that's going to do is increase the cost of the amount of the loan that we have to pay. It's not going to affect you guys at all. In that sense, it's a no-brainer. We're paying for it. You guys just have to bless it. And the only people that are going to be hurt by a no vote are those residents who necessarily the costs are going to increase. So thank you for your consideration. We're going to be here for the rest of the presentation. If you all have any comments or questions, we'll be happy to answer those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Chase, you back on the clock.
Okay, so thank you, and we'll turn our attention now to kind of the main portion of our agenda tonight as part of the city's agenda related to Georgetown municipal business, and I appreciate that Mr. Singleton helped tee this conversation up. That's one part, but overall I'm just really pleased that this is a project we've been working on since I started here in Georgetown, and to be at a point that we can provide this update tonight is significant, and it's I'm very pleased. So I'd like to provide an update on the project overall, the work completed, the work remaining, where we are on budget, where we are on schedule, and then the remaining items that you as the council, as well as the Georgetown Municipal Board of Commissioners, will have to consider at an upcoming meeting at some point. This information tonight, this is informational in nature. I'm not asking for consideration of any actions tonight. I just want you all to have a chance to hear this information and be able to ask questions, come back to me later, come back to AJ later. Want you all to have that opportunity before we move any further forward. We have, next slide, please. So everyone in the room, I think, has some level of familiarity with the South Sewer Extension project, and that level of familiarity, based on multiple councils working on this, multiple administrations, it's going to be very different. Because we all have that varying levels of familiarity with the project, we are going to kind of go back and talk about some history and evolution, how we've gotten to where we are today. We're going to start with a brief overview. Project history includes our objectives, the challenges, our selected design alternative, how we've gone about solving this problem. The lion's share of the presentation, as it's already been alluded to, we'll be discussing remaining work items, remaining action items for the council and for the board, specifically construction-related change orders. I want to start giving you a snapshot where we are today, right now, and then what is the work that's completed, what do we have left. That's something you all have asked me for. I'm prepared to talk about that tonight. We need to discuss a contract amendment for our design engineer, and then we need to discuss the two remaining change orders, 5 and 6. Briefly touch on at the end a future service area ordinance that we will bring to you. That is another important part of this. It's not a monetary decision, but it is a policy decision. And then have plenty of time for questions. So I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you, a lot of slides tonight. I apologize in advance. I will try to be as quick and as clear as possible, but these decisions, it's based on a lot of data, a lot of information, so I'll do my best to get through it quickly. Next slide, please. Thank you. So purpose of the project, going back, we wanted to eliminate 2 packaged wastewater treatment plants that treat wastewater from, at the time, 2 mobile home parks at the southern part of the county, Spindletop, Ponderosa mobile home parks, located at the Scott County, Fayette County line, southern part of the county. The communities also been referred to over the years Georgetown Mobile Estates, and under the new ownership, it is renamed Sawyer Point. So I get caught up, I'll say Georgetown Mobile Estates, I'll say Sawyer Point, I'll say the new owners, all means the same thing. This entire partnership between the city, the utility, and Sawyer Point, it is governed by a user agreement. We're going to talk about that a lot tonight. Next slide, please. Sawyer Point, so where it's located down on the county line, part of the community actually is in Fayette County, and at the time we started this project, we were at roughly 380 housing units and around 2,000 residents. I'll point out that this property, it is platted to go out to roughly 500 platted slips, so we will be increasing the population in this area. Is that correct? Up to 500, I believe, roughly. Next slide, please. Communities previously, as I said, discharged wastewater to one of these 2 package plants. As you can see just by looking at them, you don't have to be an operator to look at those and kind of know that they're not in great condition. They passed their useful service life. With the previous owner, there were permit violations for discharge into the local waterway, which is a tributary of Cane Run Creek. As of December 2023, I am very pleased to report that those package plants are successfully taken out of service and decommissioned. This has been a culmination of many years of hard work, many people. The only thing remaining on this that you'll hear me talk about in a bit is that we have to take the sludge out of the treatment plant lagoons, and we hope that that work is actually starting this week. But those are no longer in service. So to the entire project team, this council previous, job well done. That flow now discharges to the Georgetown Municipal wastewater system, and it is conveyed and treated at wastewater treatment plant number 1. Next slide, please. Construction contract for this project, it consists of 2 main elements. First, we designed and constructed a completely new collection system within the community, consisting of about 16,000 linear feet of gravity sewer. So if you look on the map, at the bottom of the map, there's an orange boundary. And if you look even closer, you can see a light blue outline that denotes the new collection system within Sawyer Point. All new pipes, all new service laterals. The next part of the second part of the project is, I draw your attention to that bright green line that goes adjacent with US 25. And then when we get up closer to town, it takes a jog to the northwest direction, and then it terminates at an orange box. That is our gravity interceptor sewer line that's been installed as part of this project. Takes it to that new pump station, which is in orange. It says PS, if you can read that closely. And I'm sorry, I'm looking up here. I know you all are all looking back here. That is the new Cane Run pump station, and that is where the water is, via the pump station, sent all the way to plant number 1. A couple other things to note. The orange, the blue, and the magenta or pink purple outline, that is the new service area for this infrastructure. Those are the properties that we are serving. A couple things to point out there. One, it's serving Sawyer Point, and it's serving things that are north of the green belt, which is on this map. So it's serving properties, one, that have old infrastructure that needs to be updated, that are already within the system. It's providing us with sewer capacity in areas that are currently don't have it, unsewered areas. And it allows us currently, with this project, we've built the new pump station. We've taken 3 older existing pump stations out of service, and we have the ability with this infrastructure to take 5 more out of service at a future date with a future project. Also want to point out, and I don't have a pointer, but if you can look and see where our green line is going up US 25, if you start at orange and you're going north, and then it crosses over US 25. I'll point that out, that is kind of the line of demarcation. You're going to hear me talk a lot tonight about cost allocations, whether that part of the cost of the project is allocated to Georgetown Municipal or Sawyer Point. At that place on the line where crosses US 25, that's the line of demarcation. So anything on the property or from that cross on the map south, or it's upstream on the sewer, down to the Sawyer Point area, that cost is 100% attributed to Sawyer Point. Anything going northeast to the pump station along King Run Creek, that is our cost. That division was made because that portion of the infrastructure that I just described, that's attributed to Georgetown Municipal, that is what we would be doing to upgrade our existing system. Everything south of that point is attributed to Sawyer Point, because that is how we would treat any other new development. It is a line extension to a new unsewered area, and that is their cost. That is outlined very specifically in the contract documents and the user agreement. Questions there? Okay, next slide, please. A little bit about project funding. How's the project funded? It'll be funded through a KIA, Kentucky Infrastructure Authority, low interest loan at a rate of 0.5% over 30 years, 30-year term. With that low interest loan, KIA is offering $1 million principal forgiveness on the total project cost. We've received another $1,075,000 non-coal grant We used that early in the project to pay for design. We received two 319 grants, or one 319 grant for $750,000, and then an increase to that of $85,000 and change. That is specifically for replacing service laterals to each unit, each slip in the mobile home park in Sawyer Point. LFUCG, because part of this project is in their service, is in Fayette County, they contributed $475,000, contributed $250,000. The total KIA loan amount that we have been approved for is $23,540,000. Saying tonight, whatever's decided in the future, we are not going to have to borrow that much money. Whether you approve change order number 5 or you don't, we are going to be asking to borrow less money than that. You're going to hear me say that over and over again. We're at a point in the project that I feel confident looking at you all and telling you that I don't think we're going to hit that amount. I actually think we're going to be far under that amount. Next slide, please. Talked about the user agreement. Mr. Singleton already mentioned it. So how do we establish the rights and responsibilities of the parties, the city, the utility, Sawyer Point? The user agreement, it was drafted, it was executed, it was approved by the board and the council back before we started and executed the construction contract. The user agreement binds the current owner or any future owners, because the park has already changed ownership one time. It binds whoever that property owner is to this user agreement. It describes how we're going to administer the construction contract. It establishes the method of payment for Sawyer Point's portion of the construction project in 2 parts. It is one, a monthly debt service for their portion of the infrastructure, that part from the crossing south, and then it is a monthly usage fee for sewer usage as any other customer would pay. User agreement defines which party is responsible for funding which part of the project. It also defines how we deal with cost overages for change orders, and it also defines how we're dealing with cost underruns, the savings. It also provides, as Mr. Singleton alluded to, safeguards against potential payment default in the form of that payment default bond that they have to submit to us at the end of this project. And that will be when the project's closed out and we know the total cost of the project, all non-construction and construction costs. Questions there? Next slide, please. As I said, I'm happy to say again, as of December 2023, project infrastructure is installed and in service, package plants are gone. We began billing Sawyer Point for sewer usage in February of this year. Questions? Next slide, please. Contractor's not finished yet. We know that, and we talked about that in November, the last time we talked about this project. Work remaining, it does include sludge disposal from the package treatment plant lagoons. And we know that is, if you're gonna say, Chase, where do you not know 100% where your costs are gonna be? That's it, because we've done that based on an estimated amount of sludge. We don't know exactly how much sludge is in there and how much has to be hauled to the landfill. We've had an open line of communication about that. So that's one part that is remaining. We have a good bit amount of restoration, both paved and non-paved, to complete. That's on both portions of the project. You still have to go back and install the fencing we had to take down. We've got to put up some new fencing. That's still out there. And then we still have to do the final punch list of the project, as you do with any construction project, final inspection, and we give that to the contractor, and they have to finish all that work, close out all those punch list items before we say the project's done.
Is it possible to ask a quick question?
Yes, sir. Sure thing.
On the work remaining, excluding the third item down from the top, what kind of time frame do you have on the work remaining?
I think part of that will depend on the type of restoration that we select in change order number 5 or the current contract. I think we've got about 3 to 6 months worth of construction schedule. I think at latest, I think we'll be done in August. Best estimate as of right now. Next slide, please. Let's talk numbers, because I think that's really where the whole conversation's going. Current construction contract with Howell Contracting totals, with the current approved change orders, that contract is worth just under $23.3 million. That's your first bullet point there. That is the total contract amount. That does not include change orders 5 and 6. To date, we have paid, going to the second bullet, we have paid the contractor just over $20.1 million for this work. It leaves us a balance to finish on the construction contract, roughly $3.1 million. Over the past few months since our last discussion in November, the contractor, the engineer, members of Sawyer Point, Georgetown Municipal, and the city, we have all sat down and said, how much are we going to spend? We've got $3.1 million balance to finish. How much of that is actually going to be spent on this construction project? I think that the group is very comfortable coming to you all tonight and saying that as of today, we only feel like under the current contract of that $3.145 million that's remaining, I think there's only $1.4 million left to bill on this construction contract. So that leaves us currently today, without 5 and 6, change orders 5 and 6, we believe this contract is going to come in $1.7 million under budget. Reasoning for that, we've not touched our project contingency. That is through our miscellaneous site improvements. With the expertise offered by Sawyer Point, when we met with, we were doing the sewer laterals, the reconnection of all the units. We met with Division of Plumbing, the design engineer, the contractor, keeping Division of Plumbing, and we talked about, they actually provided, this is the better way to do these connections, and it saved, I think that's the majority of the savings on their portion of the contract currently. So that is what they brought to the table. That's a big part of that $1.7 million. We've had various reductions on pipe length, just with contractor not doing any waste of pipe materials, which is pretty standard. And we also just with the contractor through some value engineering or just some creative ways, we redid our electrical service at the pump station, also saved us another big ticket item. So that is where that $1.7 million savings comes from. And breaking that down, 1.1 million, just under 1.1 million of that is attributable to the GMWSS portion of the contract, and just under 615,000 is attributed savings to Sawyer Point's portion of the contract. Questions? Okay, next slide, please. So this brings us to where we're going to start talking about what is remaining on the contract and what action items am I going to have to bring to you all on the board. First is contract amendment number 4, and this is, as I said, with our design engineer Hazen. They provided us with design, construction administration, and daily inspection services for this entire project. Currently, Hazen's been working about the past 5 months over their current contract. This was supposed to be done in September from a contractual standpoint. We're still working on it today. It's just, that's what's happened with some of the delays we've seen, but they've been working for about 5 months past their contract. And as I said earlier, we've got about another 3 to 6 months worth of work ahead of us that they will be a part of for construction admin and residential inspection services. This is the change order that's addressing, or contract amendment for design that's addressing those previous 5 months and the next 3 to 6 months. It is in the amount of $157,876, and I'm showing you the split there as far as what part of that cost. We're splitting that between ourselves, Mobile Home Park, Sawyer Point. We believe $103,000 and change is attributed to our portion of the project, and about $54,500 goes toward the Sawyer Point portion of the project. This is not within the construction project budget, so that's kind of what I'm sticking to tonight, but it is well within our overall project budget, and we will be recommending this for your consideration. Next slide, please. I'm sorry. Any questions on contract amendment 4?
I think you just answered mine.
Go ahead.
It wasn't a part of the construction, but it's still going to be under the 23 million.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, gotcha.
Now we jump back to the construction side. Change order number 5 is kind of why they're here, really what we're here to talk about, and that relates to the pavement restoration methodology for the roads within Sawyer Point. We gave you some information about this back in November. Next slide, please. Within the current contract, as it was bid, the scope of pavement restoration within Sawyer Point is limited to trench width restoration. That method of pavement restoration was selected by the previous owner of the park, not Georgetown Municipal, not Sawyer Point. They were funding that portion of the project as we've discussed, and that is all they would pay for there. So we want the bare minimum, whether it works or not, that was their decision. After Sawyer Point assumed ownership of this community, they came to us, pointed out, said, hey there, let's take another look at this, please. Let us request something different. There's got to be a better way. First thing we looked at was full width, and that's the second bullet, full width pavement restoration. The existing roads in Sawyer Point, if you've driven through it, they're all different widths. They're different conditions, both pre and post construction, different styles for stormwater management, different roadbed structure. Cost and the amount of work with full width pavement restoration would have likely not fit into that KIA budget. And we all quickly, I think they would agree, said full width pavement is not what we need. It also doesn't fall in with their long-term plan for how they want to develop roadways within the community. So we went back and we looked at kind of a middle of the ground approach. That's the last thing that you're seeing here. So if we had bookends, you'd have the trench width at one bookend, one extreme, you'd have full width pavement at the other. We said, let's look for something more middle of the road. And we came up with just this drive lane restoration throughout the community. So what do these look like? Let's unpackage those. If you'll go to the next slide, please. I brought this to you in December, or November, but a quick refresher. Trench width is that first in what's currently in the contract. And so all we're doing there is repairing what's disturbed by the pipe installation. So the main line goes through the middle of the roads, and then you see the sewer service laterals branching off of that main line to each slip and each unit. This is what I think that, again, bare minimum, this is what's in the current contract. I know that Sawyer Point doesn't want this. I know our contractor doesn't want this. So this is where we looked, if you'll go to the next slide, at full width restoration. As I said, next slide please. Nobody's really wild about this because of the cost, and it really doesn't go into their long-term plan. If you want to, please reach out to them and they can explain that much better than I can. They're in the business, I'm not. I'm in the pipe business, so. But they can tell you, and they've educated me on that there's a better way to do it than this. So we looked, if you'll go to the next slide, at this, I'll call it a hybrid approach, and this is what is proposed in change order number 5. We will restore the equivalent of 2 14-foot drive lanes throughout all of the disturbed areas within Sawyer Point. This gives you a drive surface. It's not going to be broken up like the trench width paving would be. Feel like this is, on behalf of the contractor, Sawyer Point, feel like this is a better solution long-term that gives people a drivable surface. Feel like this will be less warranty issues on the pavement restoration. Next slide, please. Any questions there? Can you go back one, please? I'll also point out that anything outside of that blue boundary with the red hatch, anything outside of that, Sawyer Point knows that is on them to do what they wish, because I believe they're going to put curb and gutter and then try to create front yard space and off-street parking. Anything outside of that related to stormwater management, parking, front yards, they know that that is theirs to deal with outside of this contract if we can just get this restoration as proposed in change order number 5. Next slide, please. Change order number 5, it increases the scope of services for the pavement restoration, and it is a net increase of $726,171.15 on the construction contract. And I say this, and every time I look at Peter when I say it, he knows that. This is paid for by Sawyer Point through their portion of the debt service on the KIA loan that they're responsible for. It is not paid for by the city of Georgetown or Georgetown Municipal. This change order, I will also say, as we've already discussed, it fits within the current KIA loan amount. It does not, I don't have to go back to KIA if we do this and say, I need more money. Questions there? Okay. Next slide, please. This was a question from November. Has Kentucky Infrastructure Authority approved what would be part of change order 5 for this different pavement restoration? They have. This is the direct language that was also included within your council packet. This is the direct language from an email correspondence with KIA. They say that this is a permissible use of funds. Next slide, please. So what are potential council actions, not tonight, but at a later meeting when you feel like you're ready to make a decision? First, you could approve this order. That is within your purview. I will point out, and this was one of the things I wanted to update since we brought that back to you back in November, is what else does that trigger? So we have to make changes to the user agreement and the construction contract documents. Also requires approval by the Board of Commissioners for Georgetown Municipal. Does not require any additional financing. As I said, this fits within that current approved loan amount. Other option, obviously, is disapprove the change order. Again, your purview as council members, as well as our Board of Commissioners, all parties to the agreement. Questions?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
So Sawyer Point is already paying some portion of this KIA loan that they're using, correct?
Correct.
And all they're doing is asking to use some more money to get a better pavement for their property, to make it more usable, and like you used a while ago, to be proud of. They're just using another portion that they're still going to be responsible for and bonded, right? If we approve change order 5.
Through the payment default bond.
With the payment default bond, yes. And we got the letter from KIA saying that they approved them.
I believe that's probably a question better for AJ, but I think he'll shake his head yes.
Okay.
I think the user agreement changes, is that just the debt service obligations, it's all your phone. You said you would have to make changes to the user agreement?
I'm going to go through every one of those.
Okay.
Let's start with that right now. If you'll go to the next slide, please. So here's everything that has to be updated. I'll also say that whether we do change order 5 and 6 or not, we have to update all of these documents at the end of the construction contract because we have change orders that have been approved already. So when we do the final project closeout, this all has to be updated. It's just a question if change order 5 and 6 are approved, we have to update it now and then again at the end. Kind of got a good handle on what all is involved there. User agreement, it's sections 2.6, 5.2, 5.3, section 10, exhibit B2, and exhibit C. Also, there are 2 loan amortization schedules within the user agreement, one for the total project loan and one for Sawyer Point's portion of the debt service, and those both have to be updated. I'm going to go through those, but those won't be updated until the end of the project. Those are done through KIA, not by us or the city, and they will provide those based on the final loan request. So next slide, let's dive deeper. Throughout the entire document, change order number 5 or project closeout, we will have to update the parties because we have a new owner. So this is just one example. Previous owner was a investment conglomerate. Their legal name was COM 2013, so we need to update that to Sawyer Point and the legal name of that entity that is the owner now. Next slide, please. We also have to go through and update the overall project cost. That's non-construction and construction. We mainly framed this in the terms of the construction contract tonight, but this is the overall amount. Currently, as it stands, it's $24.1 million. And if you're asking yourself, Chase, I just told you that the loan is $23.5. This is before you take out all the project funding. If you take that out, you're down below that $23.5 number that we're approved for. So that's the next part that has to be updated. Next slide, please. This is one of many places in the user agreement where the cost allocation for Sawyer Point is defined, and that will have to be updated. The boxes in red that I have and that are in the council packet, I went ahead and showed you what the update would be should we approve change order 5. So that's what that number comes out to. That is not current. That is if change orders 5 and 6 are approved. I just wanted you to see that number. So it goes from 5.658 million to 6.882, and that's the difference of the change order amount of 726,000. Let's see here. Next slide, please. This is the same, just another place where we have to update Sawyer Point's portion of the debt service that they're responsible for. Next slide, please. Here is where we will have a future update. This is the monthly debt service that comes from Sawyer Point's loan amortization schedule. I don't have those numbers. It gets updated at the end of the project, but those will have to be updated whether it is with inclusive of change order 5 or not. Those numbers have to be updated. I can't do that because I don't have that sheet. And I'll show you where that is. Next slide, please. Well, we've already touched on for the user agreement, Sawyer Point, they must provide us with a payment default bond equal to their portion of the debt service. This is our safeguard against for the city and Georgetown Municipal, and the amount of that payment default bond, it will change based, and this is how it changes based on in the event that change order number 5 is approved. Just wanted to be very clear about that. Mr. Singleton mentioned it. I'm mentioning it again, but that is part of the user agreement that has to be updated. Any questions there?
Yes, Chase.
Sir.
That amount that they did, the 6.8 million on the default bond, will that amount decrease over time as they make payments?
It does. I believe it's every 5 years we renegotiate that amount.
I see it now. Okay.
Reflective of the current outstanding debt service.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Is that your understanding? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, next slide, please. This is another housekeeping item, just updating current ownership. Next slide, please. We started this under previous administration. Mayor Jenkins, we've got to get you included in this, so we'll update Mayor there as authorized signatory. Next slide, please. Again, update the parties. Next slide, please. Exhibit C. I'm seeing these numbers in my sleep at this point. Exhibit C is part of the user agreement where we get into defining which parts of the overall project, including both construction and non-construction, as well as funding allocation, is attributed to which party. Exhibit C is where we truly show who's paying for what. First exhibit here shows where we are today. This does not have contract amendment 4. It does not have change orders 5 and 6. I've just, what is approved currently, I wanted you to see that information. Everything in red is what will be updated. Snapshot of where we are today. Next slide, please. I did another version of this Exhibit C if we approve all 3 of those items. Contract Amendment 4, change orders 5 and 6. Everything in red is what will change within Exhibit C in the user agreement. This spreadsheet is one of many that is tied to many other spreadsheets, and I will say if you want to sit down with me and look at that, please call me and we will do that, because it is taken a lot to figure out a way to mathematically show how 3 parts of this contract with different parties, different funding, how that all ties together. This is the mechanism. This is how we've done that, and I think everybody has been through this more than they've wanted to, and this is where we are currently. So I gave you both those Exhibit Cs, just where we are now, where we might be upon approvals. So next slide, please. This is the loan schedule for the entire project, and this will have to be updated at the end. There is another schedule for just the Sawyer Point portion of the loan that's also included that we will have to update. Next slide, please. Any questions on user agreement updates before I go on? Okay. Thank you. Change order number 6. So going back to change orders. Change order number 6 is not requested by Sawyer Point, it's requested by Georgetown Municipal. And this relates to additional fees for trench dewatering, mainly trench dewatering, that's the lion's share of this. Additional fittings and taps, additional fencing, both new and replacement, and a new cover for Elizabeth Street Pump Station that was upgraded as part of this project. It's currently proposed at $313,298.91. However, I do anticipate that that's going to go down by roughly $50,000. That is as it's presented today. However, we're still negotiating that with the contractor, and I believe we have a better way of doing the Elizabeth Street Pump Station shelter that goes over that pump station, redoing that in a more cost-effective manner. So I think that will go down. This cost of this portion of the project, while it is attributed to Georgetown Municipal, I will point out that all of our costs on this project will go into a privilege fee, which we utilize privilege fees all over our system, and that is a cost recovery mechanism. For anybody that benefits from this infrastructure pays a privilege fee back to Georgetown Municipal for putting this original infrastructure in the ground. Any questions there? Going back, next slide, please, on the dewatering part. Why that is significant, that is $200,000 of that $313,000 change order. $200,000 of that is for trench dewatering, specifically in the area of US 25. The contractor had to utilize 4 hydraulic pumps to keep up with the groundwater. A reasonable amount of groundwater is always expected on pipe projects. And the contractor and the contract documents reflect that that is on the contractor. This is a very much abnormal amount of groundwater that they had to run 4 hydraulic pumps to keep up. And then when we got to the casing pipe that crossed US 25, we never could get that water depressed enough. Contractor had to call in a dive team and do underwater welding to get that pipe sealed.
Wow.
First time I've ever done that on a project.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
That is where that portion is coming from. That was not expected. Thankfully, we've controlled our cost, and if this is approved, it doesn't impact our overall project budget. But you can see on the picture that that is where the diver is going into the pipe that's running underneath US 25 and welded all of the seams of that pipe. It was impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know if you go to the next slide, if that will change. Okay. Sorry, the part on the left, if you'll go back one, that's supposed to be a video, but that's showing kind of how much water is just gushing in.
Wow.
Wow.
It's just very hard to control. So we believe that the contractor is owed some of the fee for the dewatering. Next slide, please. We already looked at this slide, but I'm bringing it back to you. This was closer to the front of the presentation, but what does the budget look like if change orders 5 and 6 and contract amendment 4 are included? So our construction contract, if we include 5 and 6, we are still, that last number highlighted in yellow is $664,000 under budget. I'll run through this with you. If we include 5 and 6, what was previously $23 million and change, we're increasing that with 5 and 6. First bullet is $24.3 million. Currently paid $20.1 million to the contractor. That is unchanged. That increases our balance to finish $4.18 million. Taking out where we feel like our additional spend to completion is with that new work included, we're still at $1.7 million, what we predict under budget. Same allocations, that is where we come up with the $664,000 under budget for this project if all of those items are included. The change orders being part of the construction contract and the contract amendment for the design team, that is our overall contract, our overall project budget. Just wanted you to have those numbers as you mull this decision over. Any questions there?
I don't have a question about the budget or the update there, but my question is, if we approve all of these changes, what would be the time frame as far as paving would be concerned, as far as getting bids, because we're going into the spring?
Well, I don't believe the pavement plants have opened back up yet. Eddie might tell me otherwise. Don't believe they are, but we want to take action on this as soon as possible. I wanted to bring you this to the last meeting, but I still was not confident with the numbers, so took that time. We want to get this so we kind of get our place in line with the pavement company, because we've got to do the restoration one method or another. We've got to do that either way.
Right.
And that is where I'm getting that. I think we've got 3 to 6 months left on the contract.
I know you didn't bring it here for us to move on tonight, but I honestly understand the project, and we've been doing this for a long time. And I would like to see it wrapped up and done correctly. And I feel like that as long as they've got that bond up, that there's no reason, Mayor, that we couldn't move forward on it. I would like to make a motion that we approve all 3 of them. Is it 3? Number 4 and then 5 and 6?
It'd be contract amendment 4 and
then change orders
5 and 6.
Yes.
Now, I appreciate that. I don't think the numbers are going to change. If that's the way the council wants to move, that's perfectly acceptable. But if you want time that you can meet with me, if you want to meet with AJ, I'm not rushing anybody.
I know you're not rushing.
You tell me how you'd want to proceed.
What I'm saying is that you've been working on this and you brought us this information in November. We knew it was coming back to us. And so your numbers are even better.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for us not to move forward on it. And you have the change orders and the permission to go ahead and continue it and get it done. Because weather's a factor and everything.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Would you like me to finish the
I'm going to finish
presentation?
all this first, and then we can have that over, okay?
They might smack me. I don't know.
I'd like to.
I'm almost
Go
done.
ahead.
I am almost done. So
I'm sorry.
I already touched on it. Upon project closeout, we've got to do this service area ordinance. I'll bring that to you for consideration. We're installing infrastructure in an area of the city and county that we understand is sensitive and where development has been discouraged.
Right.
It's in the comp plan. This is in the green belt. We sized this infrastructure as such. We didn't build this infrastructure for ultimate build out of this corridor. We only built for the approved properties north of the green belt and the approved properties, existing structures, and Sawyer Point in south of the green belt. We feel like that this service area ordinance is an extra layer of security that helps us with this long fostered goal that area be preserved as it is. So that is currently in draft. I know that our attorney is here tonight. He is reviewing that, and we hope to bring that to you at the time we close the project out. Any questions on the service area ordinance?
No, but that was an important part.
I don't think this project's ever approved without that,
Right.
Quite frankly. But that is coming, and that is a very important part of the project. Next slide, please. And this is it. I'll wrap up here. When we talked in November and in subsequent conversations with council members, with board members, I looked back at what questions I've received. And overwhelmingly, this is kind of the list that I've received, I think the CAO received from both board and council members. And I just kind of want to go through these and reiterate these questions. First is, why is the city council being asked to approve or consider change order number 5 before the Board of Commissioners? That is backward from what we normally do. I would point out, this is a city project. The city has the construction contract, has the engineering contract, city and the utilities party to those, but this was a city-led project, and we felt like in keeping with that structure, even though we've helped with the management and it is a sewer project, that where change order number 5 is not being requested by us, it is being requested by the third party to the agreement. We felt like this needed to come to the council before it came to the board. That's the explanation I can offer for that question. Next was, does change order number 5 impact the city's borrowing capacity? And I've heard that from a number of you, from Board of Commissioners as well. City and the utilities share the same fiscal agent, Baird. We reached out to Chip Sutherland and explained what's happening here, what the question is, so the expert can answer that question. And I'm happy to share that information if anybody needs it. I'm happy to go through that with you, but ultimately what Chip has said is, because this project, this loan is backed on the utilities rate structure, and this change order for change order number 5 compared to the entire project cost is relatively minimal. They do not see any adverse impact to the city's borrowing capacity. Any questions there? Okay. Why was the pavement restoration change, why was that different restoration not part of the original contract? I think we've touched on that tonight, but we had a previous party we were working with, wanted the trench width, and they were paying for it. That's what they got. I think that if we'd been working with Sawyer Point all along, we wouldn't even be having this conversation tonight. It would have been in the original contract. How is the city and Georgetown Municipal protected against Sawyer Point or a future owner defaulting on their portion of the payment? And that is on the debt service, what we covered, that is through the payment default bond. That is the best thing that we could come up with at the time. I still don't know of a different mechanism, but we have to be presented with that payment default bond, and then it is reviewed as the debt service is paid down over the life of the loan. And the last one, we've already touched on this, but has KIA advised on whether change order number 5 is an appropriate use of KIA funds, and they have responded in the affirmative there in writing. So that is all I have for you tonight. I am happy to take any more of your questions, and you all can take action as you see fit tonight or at a later meeting, but I'll leave that to you, but I'm here to answer any questions.
Chase, I would like to go over the city's borrowing capacity because we have some pretty big projects coming up.
Understand.
I definitely would like to understand the numbers better.
Understand. Okay. I mean, what I have is strictly what Chip Sutherland has sent me, but I understand. I think that the city staff can put together the figures that you're wanting related to future borrowing issues.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important to know. We do have some pretty big projects in front of us.
Understand.
Yeah, I think those numbers are important too, Alonzo, but from what I'm understanding, the rates of what you all are going to be paying is what's going to be paying the loan. The city's not paying it. It's from your rate structure. So they're paying it anyway. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and move on it. Let them finish the project.
But to that point, and it's kind of unrelated in that sense, but if that's something that you want, just a general overview of our current bonding capacity and just kind of a 30,000 foot view of that, just for future projects, we can facilitate that.
So,
Mayor, I'm sorry.
yes, go ahead.
I came here tonight just expecting an update. I really was not prepared to take any action on this tonight because, you've done a great job, pointing out everything, but, I still just need time to process and look at things. And tonight, I'm just not prepared to vote on it.
I don't understand what else you got to process, because we heard it in November, and we're getting the same information tonight, only better. And it's something that they need to move on, and I think you all probably have your meeting tomorrow, Chase?
No, ma'am.
It was
next week.
Next week.
Yeah, we met last week.
I mean, it's right there in front of you, and I mean, the answers, the questions that we had as far as KIA and approving the loan, they were already borrowing the money anyway, the bond's there. They're not asking to do the big paving, they don't want to do that, but they have other ideas and things that they want to do in this neighborhood. And that, the funding's there. And, I don't see anything wrong with moving forward and letting them finish it up and get it done. We've been working on it forever.
Devin, is it appropriate to take action tonight, even though it's not on the agenda for action?
Yeah,
just an update.
the council's able to, it's a regularly scheduled meeting. If the council wants to act on that motion, it's absolutely able to.
Yes. And so we have a motion that was made.
Yes, sir.
And we have motion made by Ms. Tackett, second made by Ms. Hambrick. And do we have further questions and or comment?
We've got a motion and a second, so unless, I'm not ready to vote on this. If there's a motion and a second, so I guess at this point, we're gonna have to go through the vote.
Can we do a second motion to for the next meeting? to vote the next meeting, or how
We-
would
I
that
mean,
work?
And
You
Lori,
can-
can I
we
just,
can table
can I just take my motion back?
We can do a similar thing to what we did at the last meeting, where if you want to take the motion off the
Right.
table, you can do that, and then you can make a motion to postpone it to a certain time. If you have an idea of which meeting you're wanting to address it at.
Just the next meeting. I mean,
Okay.
my assumption was it was gonna be on the agenda for the next meeting to take action on it.
You all can do that.
I mean, is
So
that gonna?
I'll just take it. How do I do it?
And if people need more time to study it, I've had numerous conversations in depth
know.
with Chase. I've gone over this in detail, but if the other people are not ready for it, I
That's
would be
fine.
glad to take back the
Yeah,
second and wait
exactly.
till the next meeting.
So,
I mean, I'm not saying that I won't support it.
Right.
I just want, you know,
Sure,
And
It's fine.
that's fine.
the
We'll
thing
take it
that I
back.
have in my mind, and guys, don't get me wrong, and that's one of the hangups that I have, is that even though you all got the money and you all are gonna pay for it, it's still hanging up that it's still the city of Georgetown paving private property. And, yes, by all means.
Actually, sir, it's restoration of the road of which the project was being done.
Yeah.
You're not paving a new road.
Yeah.
You're restoring a road that was plowed during the middle of the project itself.
Right,
You're
right.
not creating a road, which is why KIA approved it.
Okay, and I've gotta get past that.
Okay, that's fine, but I
yeah.
don't want you to think we're paving roads.
Yeah.
We're
Oh, I know.
restoring what was dug up.
Right.
Yes, sir, I understand, and I understand that, but that's just
I got it.
that hurdle in my mind.
all right, so we're going to withdraw the motion and the second to,
Yes.
that to not take action at this time. To be
So I believe someone needs to make a motion
to table it.
to postpone until the next.
I'll make that motion to postpone it to the next.
Okay, so motion is made. All right, second, okay.
So to be clear, that's April 8th, I believe.
I think it is. Wait a minute, I'll tell you. I think it is.
So we have a motion made by Ms. Tackett and second made by Mr. Hampton to table,
No, the motion is to postpone.
postpone the voting of this until the April 8th meeting.
It'll be back on the agenda.
And it will be put back on the agenda at that time.
That's my
Okay,
motion.
are there any further questions or comments?
So, sorry. So someone needs to make the motion and someone needs to second it?
Yes,
I
no.
motioned it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
sorry.
Greg seconded
Just
it.
making sure. Okay.
We've already done all that. So now the next thing is, we need to take a vote on this. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say likewise. Let the record reflect that the motion passed to bring this back up at the April 8th meeting.
Any questions between now and then, please reach out to me. If you have questions for Mr. Singleton, I'm sure he will make his contact info available to you. But thank you for your time tonight. I know that was a long presentation, but
It was very
thank you.
informative.
All the information.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Chase. Okay, next, we have council comments, and I'm going to start over here with Mr. Stone.
Thank you, Mayor.
That way.
It was a great meeting tonight. Some spirited conversation, but that's the good thing about this. Couple things. One, in asking in Devin or Emily, whichever one, a couple of things. KU, Columbia Gas, and Spectrum have no offices in Georgetown now. Can we find out, look at the franchise agreement? I think at one point in time, they were supposed to have offices in Georgetown, and see if that's appropriate.
Yeah,
to look at them and say, hey, what's going on here?
Speak to that, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know Sandra brought it to our attention. A couple of council members actually had brought up specifically related to the Spectrum office closing, and our franchise does provide a mechanism under which the companies have to provide notice, and there's a period of time they have to hold that office open. That is lapsed on the Spectrum agreement. Glad to look into the other agreements, Columbia and KU. I know actually for electric we've got 3 providers, but we'll gladly look into those requirements. And
Do we even have a franchise on?
we do. We just don't have a fee
Columbia?
associated with it.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the last thing I have is and this will be a tough one, is looking at ways for parking enforcement because of the Fourth Amendment issues with that. If, and I know this may come into some work with Chief Allgood and his staff for how we can control the parking issues and get people moving from downtown rather than showing up at 7:30 in the morning and in the same parking spot till 5, 6 o'clock at night. So, just a thought.
So, Madam Clerk, has got those two down for us too, and I will assign someone on to take care of that.
Awesome.
And we will circle back around, and we'll either bring it back at a future meeting, and or we'll, if we find out something prior to that, we're gonna circle back with you there, and plus let the council know where we are.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Ms. Tackett.
I'm fine, Mayor, thank you.
Mr. Allen.
A few things.
Okay.
Can we get the questions and responses from the public tonight? Can you send that out to?
Yes, I will.
members? Appreciate that.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Also, can we also make sure we stick to the 4-minute limit on public comments? Because if we allow people to go over, then we're gonna have to allow for everybody. I don't want to show any partiality to anyone, so I'd like to make sure we stick to our guidelines there, please. Then lastly, this one's a little long, so bear with me here. We had a $1.4 million deficit on the current budget. And due to some things that came in a little higher, like the payroll, with Toyota giving that increase to the employees, and so our payroll came in a little bit higher than expected. Hopefully we'll have a balanced budget by the end of the year. Things are looking pretty good. The EMS project on Lexus Way is over budget $3.2 million. Now, don't quote me on those specific numbers. It's somewhere around $3.2 million. Our responsibility of that is $1.6 million. So that's going to hit our budget next year. So we're already in the hole about $1.6 million, because it's a huge carry, and we'll probably hit our general fund. So
We don't have a budget for next year yet.
sorry.
Go ahead.
So tonight we approved $18,000 to gravel a temporary parking lot, and it feels like $7,000 for an in-person meeting, what it feels like to me. So there's an additional $25,000. We have a compensation study that is being done, and most compensation studies don't come back and say you're paying too much. There's going to be some adjustments we're going to have to make or consider making based on that study. Who knows what stormwater is going to look like? I mean, we continue to struggle with stormwater issues. We still need the fire station 4. The body-worn cameras, probably, I think I saw a number, $180,000 to $200,000 annually. That's going to be hitting us next budget period and from there on out. Probably still need additional law enforcement. Not to even mention the miscellaneous requests like come up tonight. So we have to be responsible for the taxpayers' money, and I think that we are trying to be. It's just being aware of the challenges that we have. So I just want to make sure people know that when I look at things, I look at it, is it necessary, is it urgent, and is it a safety concern? So I try to run through that process to say, do we need this right now, or is there a different way? Because we are struggling, in my opinion, from a finance standpoint, with this budget, and then with the next budget, it's a challenge. So I think we just have to be aware of that as we move forward. And Chase, looks like you probably have another 2 weeks of nightmares, so. Numbers nightmares.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Conway.
Mine's not as serious as yours was. My comment is I'm thrilled to death if we can educate the public, because I'm on Public Works, of how to contact everybody puts their garbage or their recycles in their can. And I think the mayor had a brilliant idea about the stickers. Because I kept thinking about these people that don't have the internet, the people that can get on apps, and how are they gonna know? And those are the ones that don't know, and where we're having some problems, setting out mattresses and chairs and this, that, and the other. So if there's a phone number put on that, then they can contact them and find out what's going on. And if they choose not to, then I think here comes code enforcement, maybe, you know, to address that. But that's all I got. Thank you so much.
Ms. Brent?
Mine is the community. I just want to tell everybody, I want to welcome the Brown Barrel, the restaurant across the street here. I've eaten there all weekend, and it's good, so go out, everybody. It's wonderful. Welcome, Brown Barrel. And then the other thing I want to say is, I'm so proud of Great Crossing Middle School basketball team.
Yes.
Coach Steve Price, his assistants, they did real well to make it to the first time to the Sweet 16 tournament. We're going to root them on next year. We're going to get it next year, but just a shout out to the Great Crossing High School basketball team and Coach Steve Page and the assistant coaches. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, it was an exciting tournament. I followed it closely as well. Congratulations to them. I just have two new items. I participated, I believe Emily was a participant in the Kentucky League of Cities. Oh, sorry. I was a participant, and Emily, our city attorney, was a participant at the Kentucky League of Cities presentation about medical marijuana. And if it gets passed through the state legislature the way it is anticipated to be passed, it is going to become an option for the city to participate in having a dispensary and having the cultivation take place here. And so I urge all of our city council members to get the slideshow presentation from that KLC presentation, because it's very informative and, in my opinion, necessary in order to understand what we will be voting on.
I can request it.
And I think they said they were going to send it to all the participants soon. I don't think I've gotten it yet. Have you?
I've not received it yet. But
Okay.
We'll reach out and
Yeah.
follow up.
The other thing is, I had a couple of people talking about some objectionable signage on public property, and so I don't really know how our ordinances address that. And so I wasn't really able to give a good response, but I said that I would bring it to the table, and I can talk with you all later about the signage that they're speaking about.
Okay.
And where it is.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep. Okay. Mr.
Just
Tappan?
just a couple of things. I know Candace has already left, but, you know, she's doing a fantastic job. You know, I wish she was here so I could tell her that. And I know that the needs assessment is, it's needed, and I support it 100%, but she's doing a great job. Also, Chase, thank you for the presentation. That was very valuable information. Sorry you couldn't, you know, take action on it tonight, but
Big decisions.
But it's a big decision, and that's why I did, you know, I just wanted to, you know, sleep on it a little bit. Thank you.
Mr. Showalter?
I've listened as we've gone around the table, and each of us has kind of gone in a different direction, so I'm going to go, I'm just going to keep adding to that then. You know, we talk about transparency. We've been talking about transparency for 15 months. We accomplished quite a bit tonight. Now, granted, we weren't all in agreement, and that's fine. But we accomplished a lot tonight, and I would hope that somebody, whether it's Devin or our city attorney or our IT person, I know the newspaper's here tonight, but I would hope somebody would put this on our Facebook page or our city website of what we've accomplished. You know, again, we've been preaching transparency, and, you know, Mr. Stone had a good question tonight. I think he's emailed all of us just since he walked out the door about the streetlights. And, you know, I talked to our city engineer when I got here tonight, and I noticed one of the intersections in town, there's at least 3 new streetlights, and I can't wait to go home tonight to see if they're working. That's something to be proud of. We're making progress. You know, again, I don't want to say we wasted last year, but we talked and talked and talked about things that need to happen. And we took a little bit of action on some items. So we got a small window. We're in an election year this year. There's no appetite to do some of the things that we've been talking about. There's no appetite this year for it. But I mean, you know, the Colony, the intersection at the Colony. I mean, Connie, we started together. We've been talking about that intersection coming out of the Colony on Colony Boulevard for over 8 years. That's a big accomplishment for the people that live in that subdivision. The parking lot back here that, you know, the county government's going to go in at 50% with us. It's split. And if you don't think there's a parking issue, come down here. I mean, you work behind City Hall. I mean, you see it. The parking lot behind City Hall it's a challenge. And it's only going to get worse. And we've been in it long enough to know that the one thing that upsets business owners downtown is when there's no parking. And if you don't believe us, ask. You know, we got an item tonight that, you know, I wasn't prepared to act tonight. I wasn't. I want to take it all in, and hopefully I can talk to Chase in the weeks ahead, or, you know, that's a big item. It's a big item. We're making progress. And for anybody out there that says we're not, they're not paying attention. We are. And we ought to be proud of some of the things that we're starting to do. And we as a city need to put it on our website. We need to make it public and not be afraid of what we're doing. And I would hope each of you up here tonight would agree with that. We need to make it public. From a fire training facility, we're talking about body cams for a police department. You know, a fire training facility. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And shame on us for not being more transparent. We ought to put immediately all of the intersections that we're putting the street lights up. How many street lights are we putting up? Where are the intersections, and what's the time frame? Mr. Stone is one of probably hundreds of people that go up and down Paris Pike every day thinking, man, it's dark. It's dark. So shame on us. And, you know, again, if we're going to talk about transparency, let's be proud of it. That's all I have.
All right. Is there any other issues or concerns that need to be brought to this council? If not, this meeting is adjourned.